lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
From Austin, Texas, the Stacy Strong Cup Series is about to start making right turns and changing elevation at Circuit of the Americas. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live music capital of the world. We're gathered here for the first of two races in the Lone Star State for 2024, and tonight when the green flag drops, these drivers will drown out any live music in this town. Neil Pearson brought home the checkered flag last week at Bristol's Motor Speedway and was joined by Matt DiCianni and Sean Rogers on the podium. Meanwhile, Rogers maintains his hold on the points lead, still in search of his first win of the season, while DiCianni trails him by only 18 points coming into this event. I'm Dave Regal alongside with my brother from another mother, Mr. Matt Metler, here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. And as always, we're thrilled to be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And folks, glad to have all of you in with us tonight as qualifying has gotten underway. Just a couple of technical issues right before we went live, which, you know, at this point, it doesn't even surprise me. Of course, Matt is dealing with some microphone issues on his end. I had some graphics issues on my end. But now we've got everything all settled in here as we get ready to rock and roll. In the Stacy Strong Cup Series, Chris Davis out for his qualifying effort, Matt DiCianni the same way. We're going to take a moment right now to take a peek at those standings that we had just talked about. Of course, Sean Rogers leads us in the points, followed by Matt DiCianni with 196 points. Patrick Gitter in third, Chris Davis in fourth. Some notable names here. RJ Root running in fifth position right now with Princeton just behind him. Chris Claude back in 13th position, while Alexander Gangler's in 14th. Seba Cornez starting to crawl his way up through the points. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. There may be just 4 points between the triple digits and the double digits here, but those points are going to be even more important tonight. And speaking of important, we're going to take a look at our championship standings for the teams here. Of course, TCSP E10 Esports with 516 total points for team standings right now. Four Wide Motorsports starting to try to climb up through the standings here with 339. Joe Gibbs Racing right now kind of in the basement along with Apex, JAR, TCR, Money House, and Field Filler. But you got to remember that Money House only ran one race so far this season, and Apex was the same way. So hopefully we start to see some of the old stalwart teams here in this league performing the way that we're used to seeing them perform. Of course, taking a peek here at Chris Davis in the 74. He's on his first lap as he comes out of the rear of the racetrack here. He's heading down toward the front stretch as he's got that Beast Mode 74 Toyota Camry all kinds of cranked up, just trying to get some heat in the tires right now. Paul Hill, fastest time. Of course, the only complete time as Neil Pearson turns in a 2-minute 13-second lap. So we can start to see some of these times coming in now. Bobby Anderson with a 2:13. You can see he was about a second and a half slower than pole sitter Paul Hill at 2:11. Paul Hill right now kind of commanding that lead. We'll take a peek here at the 04 as he's now working his way toward the S's, and through them comes up the hill as we're going to have some cool little camera angles to work with tonight. Of course, now we're just trying to get them to all work, which that's a whole nother animal unto itself. We'll take a look here at Hill from above, and, you know, riding along here with Paul Hill is going to be a treat for many of you as we take a look here at the Jacksonville, Florida native, as we'll get qualifying mode out of our screen for the time being. We can see Paul taking this one hairpin. It's almost a hairpin. And, you know, a lot of the angles here at Circuit of the Americas make the racing here that much more exciting, even as we look from above. You know, this is kind of a carousel section of the racetrack as we work through that. And we can see as that carousel cam dips out of the way that right now Paul Hill handling this with relative ease for the time being. But, I mean, you know, we have to understand that this is kind of, you know, fresh tires, fresh setup. And that's the big thing that we pay attention to here as the cars are going to get tight. You know, braking distances are going to have to change. They're going to have to find ways to loosen the car up deep in these setups, you know, and deep in these runs, because we will not see traditional caution flags coming out this evening. If
No, we won't,
they're
Dave.
just
In
told
fact,
to
we'll
gather it
still
up
have
and
our stage points that'll be granted throughout the course of the run tonight, but we're not going to have those staged cautions to bunch that field back up. And that Jacksonville, Florida native, faster than just about anyone else in the field. And just as I say that, Neil Pearson, first man in the 211s, he goes 211.75 in that 97 machine.
Absolutely. And just as a quick little housekeeping correction, as my partner finally slides into the booth mercifully, because I've been waiting for you, buddy. So they will have stage cautions tonight. That's per Chris during his pre-race announcements, which is rather surprising. So we will see 2 cautions fly. However, cautions for cause will not exist.
Thank you for the correction there. Yeah, that's a little, usually we're so spot on to real life here. I didn't see that coming, as you mentioned waiting on me. I've been up there before you. It'd be nice if I was able to hear you, but I think we got that corrected now. Ready to rock and roll here from the Circuit of the Americas. Everyone chasing that 04 machine being piloted by Hill in that 2-minute 11-second 0.64 lap time around this facility.
Yeah, just 20 cars going out for qualifying effort. I'm sorry, 23 cars going out right now, as Chad Sanner must have negated the first lap. Looks like Chris Custer had the same issue. Caden Norfree here in his debut race in the Stacy Strong Cup Series, trying to get it warmed up here, trying to get used to the track. Ethan Eckert doing the same, as we see Ron Fitting here on his out lap here in the number 3 Ford Mustang.
Great looking paint scheme on Ron Fitting's Dark Horse Mustang this evening from Sumter, South Carolina. Grease Monkey on board tonight. Up that right turn, going to climb up through the gearbox now. This is a really technical section of the racetrack. Once you get past this high-speed zone right here, you got to squeeze every bit out of it. But you got to be brave. You got to be willing to push that pedal down. You see him hard on the binders here as he's getting ready to make that hard right-hander. As Dave mentioned, almost a corkscrew, or not a corkscrew, I'm sorry, a hairpin turn, pardon me. As Tony Trapasso would say there, keeps it just off the sausage patties.
It does.
And Dave, the interesting thing, Dave, last year, as these cars ran longer, the faster they got. It took the tires last year at least, 10 to 11 laps to really maximize the speed, looking at the lap times before they would start to fall off. I'm going to pay attention, especially early, to see if that's the case this year, or if that tire model has since made these guys go back to the R&D shop to figure out how to keep this thing in the racetrack for its entirety this evening.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick peek here at our race information while they go ahead and take 5 minutes to warm up for reasons I'm not quite sure of. As we are here in round number 6, 77 degrees if you're watching the race here in the stands. Of course, a nice little awning here on the front stretch, some bleachers set up around the racetrack. It's actually a really cool setup here as we look down upon Austin, Texas's Circuit of the Americas. But that 77 degrees doesn't translate onto the asphalt, average temperature being 88 degrees on the asphalt. So it's still going to be nice and tight, nice and grippy down there. And believe me, I feel like, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what you want down there. You don't want to be slip-sliding around.
No, you want to feel like you're firmly implanted into the racetrack. You want that sense of security, especially if you really want to have the confidence as a driver to send it into these corners. I could not agree more with you, bud.
As we take a quick peek at our qualifying results here at COTA, looks like Paul Hill does log the fastest lap at 2 minutes 11.64. So he beats out Neil Pearson by about a tenth. So we're going to have to see if Paul Hill can maintain that kind of speed or if this is something that we're going to see fall off.
Yeah, that's, like I mentioned a few moments ago, that's what I'll be looking for, as we're now about 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in this warm-up. So they've had practice. We've had qualifying. We know Paul Hill has the hot hand with one car on the racetrack, Dave. Now let's put the best in the business on Sunday night, turn them all loose, and see who has what it takes to come home with the dub right here on SRM. Fired up, ready to go, Dave. I don't know about you, man. Yeah, I'm looking for drivers. As you mentioned, Seba Cornez. I spoke with him early this morning about 7:30 a.m. Eastern. He was already on the racetrack making laps out there. I asked him, "What do you think is going to be most critical?" He said, "Number one, the tires and how the car handles and changes over the course of the run." The second thing he said I thought was a bit unique. I didn't think of it. He said attrition. Specifically, that incident point limit, Dave. These drivers, they don't get an increase in that because they're at a road course, and we're going the whole distance. So he said that may be the silent killer are those incident points. So look for Seba Cornez to take it steady Eddie early on, just trying to avoid any type of carnage in front of him, and he hopes to be there at the end with low incident points so he can send it toward towards the finish line at the end.
Yeah, and to your point, they don't change the incident point limit here. So we've seen historically in this league a lot of cars getting sent to Dairy Queen land, i.e. disqualification for DQ.
Yeah, we're not talking Dilly Bar.
No. Dilly, though, here in Philly, as we take a look at Anthony Savignano. See that? That was like a little springboard. It's like you're helping me jump over the fence to get the ball from the old man in the sandlot. As we take a look here at Mark Johnson in the KFC machine. And right now the Colonel is cooking. Whoa, maybe a little too much.
Wall.
I didn't know that we were having smoked chicken. I thought it was fried, but there he is smoking it going into the wall.
It was extra spicy.
Well, the Nashville hot chicken's going to have to come out in a couple of weeks. I can tell you that much.
Okay, so
what?
I was going to say that's my one thing that I make an exception for at KFC, that Nashville hot chicken. I get it twice, and then I'm good for the year. Yeah, not that I really am, but it's what I tell myself.
When I was down in your state, I don't know if this is a popular thing or not, but I was in Port Charlotte heading north, and I saw a sign. I saw a KFC that was under construction that said all you can eat. Is that a thing?
Well, if it is, thank the Lord I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I would weigh twice as much as I currently do, and I'd be on that show getting told by the doctor, you got to put in the work.
I'd be trying to figure out how to dampen all the noise to broadcast from there.
Well, you bite into those 11 classic herbs and spices, and bad things happen. But drivers finally climbing into the cockpits here, as it looks like Paul Hill still waiting to come out here. Matt Long hopping in, as we're going to see all of them line up here momentarily. This is the one thing in sim racing that drives me nuts, just waiting for everybody to hop in so we can start to do this. Paul Hill going to be on the pole position out of Jacksonville, Florida. He'll be joined on the front row by Neil Pearson. Row 2 going to feature Matt Long and Sean Rogers out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, starting in 4th position. Derek Heitman and Matt DiCiani going to be in row number 3, while row 4 going to feature Bobby Anderson out of Mansfield and Anthony Savignano from Erie, Colorado. So obviously not my Erie. Row 5 and rounding out the top 10, starting here tonight from Lamar's, Iowa, Nolan Hodgson. The young man going to be joined by Patrick Gitter from Charlotte, North Carolina. Skip Gandy and Bennett Allen in row number 6, while Tanner Marty and Dylan Banks out of Lillington going to be starting 13th and 14th. Seba Cornez, of course, as we had just mentioned, going to be in row number 8 alongside of Waynesboro's very own Kavaja Holt, while Eric Papineau and Dalton Mobley starting in row number 9. Row 10 going to be rounding out your top 20, Rafael Rodriguez and Michael Witt.
If you could put the graphic up on the screen for me, please. I'd be happy to continue with the rundown. Not a problem.
There we go. How about this one?
I believe that'll work for you. If you can just cycle it once, we're at that 18th place on my end.
How's that?
Thank you, kind sir. Starting 20th in the 60, just to recap, Rafael Rodriguez. 21st belongs to Chris Davis in the 74. Michael Witt rolls off 22nd in that 88 machine. Outside of him, Michael Pedersen in the 52. Caden Norfry rounds up the top 24. And starting 25th in the 10, as always, the head cook, chief, and bottle washer of the league, the one and only Chris Claude. Rolling off 26, Sean Kelly in the 23. Outside of him, Chad Sanner rocking the 27 as always. Godzilla, you know he's going to be back. Rich Jet in that 77 rolls off 28th. Ryan Eckert, 29th. And rounding out your top 30 in the 89 ride, Steve Herring. Ron Finney's going to roll off 31st. John Wilco in that 32nd position. Mark Johnston's going to take the green flag from that 33rd starting position tonight. 34th belongs to Randall Watkins. Rolling off 35th, that is going to be, as this field is set, ready to rock and roll here.
The only thing that's left to do is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, turn up the volume and get ready to turn those hands right. Race fans, it's showtime!
Green flag in the air, and we are off live in prime time as these drivers look to rumble here at the Circuit of the Americas. It is hot and rowdy as we are down into turn number 1. The 51 still carrying the torch. We're clean as it stands right now, Dave, but these cars are smothered and covered and bunched up on top of each other.
Yeah, they were nearly 3 wide coming down coming up the hill per se into turn number 1. They're still trying to get themselves figured out here as this is starting to get a little scary. We take a look here at Anthony Savignano and the 12 of Nolan Hodgson as we work our way through the S's now. This is starting to get a little hairy pretty early on in this race.
Yeah, this is not what these drivers want to see. As you mentioned, Nolan Hodgson there had a scary moment there in the 12th, locked it up, went off course there momentarily. I mean, it looks like the 495 around Washington, D.C. at 7 a.m.
Hey.
The safety pin. Looks. Yeah, and you know these guys are going to try to suppress that 21 machine. He was one of the contenders. He was very strong, and here he is again on a completely different surface, returning right and left, and Gitters going after it once again. Look in front of him, the 44, Sean Rogers, up there as well. So we're seeing a lot of names that we saw last week here contending at the point as Heitman continues to lead now almost 2 seconds over the 04 hill.
Now we're going to take a look at Chris Claude. Sorry, I said Custer off the air, but here we are watching Chris Claude come down this straightaway as he's going to get ready to haul that car left. Looks like he just simply gets it way slow here. I mean, talk about riding around with Grandma, get the popcorn ready. Mine still would have been waiting at the intersection.
Well, you know what? It could be too. Those tires got to come up to temperature before you really have that security. You don't have those reps under green flag conditions, and I'm very confident Chris will get that rectified and pick up the pace, but you're right. That could have been a lot worse of a situation there if those drivers weren't on the ball paying attention to what's going on the racetrack. As now he's sitting here watching that 18 Reese's Pieces machine going at it. Now he's going to go back to that 70 ride. They go through that tricky section there of the racetrack. Dylan Banks, of course, just behind Bobby Anderson in that 18.
And we talk about, checking up and trying to make it look, trying to look and see what's around you. Let's take a ride here with Dylan Banks here in the 70. Now, these cars, of course, they're still oval asphalt stock cars. There are no brake lights in them. So when the guy in front of you gets on the binders, you have to be able to understand that happening. Now, I was riding along in an in-car cam earlier today with one of the race car drivers in the Real Life Cup Series, and that particular stretch of racetrack, he actually was staying in third gear. It was just a long third gear. I'm curious to see what some of these drivers do to make the car more comfortable to get through these turns.
That's a great point, Dave, and I think what you want to do here, work with your team and optimize what sectors of the racetrack you think are the most critical. You're going to give up in some other sectors, but I think the fast cars tonight, as you were referenced, you're going to see a little bit perhaps of a different gearing like we've seen last year with some of the Toyotas at the time that are now Fords. As we go back up here now to that 7th place position, Bennett Allen having a great run here early, up 5 spots from where he started, as he's now under pressure from Bobby Anderson, holding in that 8th place position. Go on board with Bennett Allen, Chattanooga, Tennessee, of course. The 2022 M&N, and you hear the sausage patties. Sounds like that car is getting hammered by baseball-size hail.
I'll tell you what, that was incredible. As we ride along with Bennett, as you had just mentioned, the 2022 M&N Xfinity Series champion, this is one of his bread and butter kind of tracks. He does excel here on the road courses. I'm curious to see when this car is going to come in for him. I know he's generally, Heitman just laid down a 212, but I'm curious to see when Bennett's tires come in and when, he really starts to make up some distance. He may be an 8th for now. He crawled up out of 12th, but this is not the last we're going to see him as, that's called a curb, Bennett. You got to keep it on the asphalt.
He said, no, what curb? No problem. Is that car got really squirrely and upset when he went over that curbing.
Well, and that's going to be,
hello.
That's going to be the name of the game for many of these drivers tonight as we take a look at them coming down through, of course, what we normally see in the F1 series and of course, in IndyCar racing, that DRS section of the racetrack where usually in an Indy car or an F1 car, you can really see them pick up some time. But these boats here tonight are just that. They are boats out here. Whoa!
Oh, and we got problems. And the 68 looks like they possibly retaliated and returned the favor.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at this real quick from just above Nolan Hodgson. Now, we can see Hodgson here following the 68. Bennett Allen on his left. Now, the 68 gets nosed out of the way by Bennett and then takes out Nolan Hodgson just for so.
Yeah, innocent bystander there, had nothing to do with that. But shots fired here early, and I don't think that was intentional. I think that was just a byproduct of tight racing in some of these technical sectors of this race course. And unfortunately, some carnage here early.
Peeking in here at Kavaja Holt from Waynesboro. He's kind of in a comfortable spot right now. He's got some cars behind him that gives him a little bit of the ability to drive defensively, maybe some excitement for him because, I'll tell you this much. Sometimes you get out here and you're all by your lonesome and you look around thinking, where is everybody? As Kavaja hauls it up here toward turn number 1, he doesn't take this as wide as some of the drivers do. He manages to keep that thing on rails as he heads down the hill toward the S's. Kavaja is one of these drivers where we're going to continually see him, making hay of the appropriate opportunities, and really that's what road course racing is about: taking the opportunities here and getting it done right. You don't want to overdrive everything. You don't want to underdrive everything either. And Kavaja just had that one nailed.
He couldn't have said that better myself, Dave. He's taken what the racetrack gives him, and he's not trying to force the issue and trying to make things happen. Well, at least not yet. As that happens, Matt DeCiani hits the new fast lap of the race. That's going to be a 2:12.69 as we're now working through lap 4 of tonight's scheduled 68 laps right here on SRM. There he is, Matt DeCiani.
68 laps, the total scheduled distance. Of course, stage 1 going to end at the conclusion of lap number 15. Stage 2 at the end of lap number 30. 6 sets of tires, but here's the thing. I don't think we're going to see most of these drivers use all 6. In fact, we may only see them try to do this in 2, perhaps 3 stops, depending on how they can separate that out.
Yeah, Dave, I can almost guarantee you we're going to see the 2-stop play here, as it was utilized last year and was the winning hand to come away here with the victory. As I'm getting a report that Chris Custer and Steve Herring may have had an incident on the racetrack. Heitman now takes back the fast lap, and that immediately gets stolen back by the 97 of Matt Long at a 2:12.22. literally as I was calling that out, the fast lap changed 3 times. So check the box to 97. See there going back to 89, locks the tires up there.
Yeah, Herring just kind of wanted to baby through there, that same section that Chris Claude was earlier. Now we'll take a quick peek at Chris Custer here in the number 66 Coca-Cola machine. I feel like, and this is just me, that should be the 80. Of course, 1880, the year that Coca-Cola was, quote-unquote, invented by Dr. John C. Pemberton over in Atlanta. But obviously, Custer just locking it up, coming into literally that same turn. So I believe we can start to try to point out where Calamity Corner is going to be tonight.
Yeah, I would say that marks the spot. Going back now to the 14th. You go to the point. Derek Heitman picking right up where he left off last year, Dave. That 76 knows how to navigate these road courses. And the more technical they are, the more he seems to thrive. That gap is starting to erode back in the other direction. That was almost at 2 seconds about 3 laps ago. Now it is under a second, 0.90 back to the 04 of Paul Hill. Remember, he was your pole sitter. Heitman was able to sneak by him there in the early going. I want to say within the first 2 corners. Now Hill's on the charge, getting ready to start applying some pressure to the back of that 76.
Yeah, right now the 76 just a few ticks away from Paul Hill, as Paul Hill currently trails him by just about a full second and 2 seconds, and then some back to Matt Long. But you know, we're going to be keeping a close eye tonight on the battle box, of course, on the lap times, and these sectors tonight that you heard Matt talk about. The racetrack is basically broken down into 3 sectors: the front, the middle, and the back. And that's something that we don't really get to see very often. Here's the 4th sector coming in. This is something we don't really get to see in oval racing.
No, rarely you do. That's more of what you use, as you mentioned earlier, open wheel, Formula One, IndyCar. But tonight, hey, we're pulling out all the stops for you guys and giving you a little extra data coverage here. And why not Circuit of the Americas? Paul Hill, covering him right now. I mean, he's basically only slid back 1 spot as he continues to try and catch that 76 of Heitman. That lead is slowly but surely continuing to go in favor of Paul Hill. Last time by was a 2:12.98 to Derek Heitman, compares to Paul Hill's lap of a 2:12.08. So you can see they are both, here we go, side by side. Just as I say that, with a block there by the 76 of Heitman, Paul Hill's going to have to reload. Oh, he locks it up, does not get into the back of Heitman. That could have been disastrous, Dave.
Yeah, we're going to start to watch some of these lap times here. This is something that, again, we don't get to talk about very often on oval racing. You know, lap times here are incredibly important. I mean, you know, you can say, you know, somebody maybe on a recovery drive is driving faster than the leader, but here you can be in 5th position and driving faster than the leader and still not even see his bumper. You know, you might still have, you know, 4, 5, or 6, you know, lapped cars between you guys. So here we're taking a look at Derek Heitman, who on lap 5 ran a 2:12.976. And then we see Paul Hill being 0.8 of a second faster, as Paul Hill really starting to harass Derek Heitman here as we work our way toward the carousel one more time. And, you know, the Team Conti, number 76, is cranked up trying to hold off Hill.
Yeah, he has given that 76 machine, that ZL1 Camaro, the business, trying to fend off the charge from the 04. I think that lockup there just moments ago may have overheated that right front on the 04 as he fell back a little bit, but I think he's got to cool down because, Dave, he is primed and poised on the business end of that Ford Dark Horse, or excuse me, that ZL1 Camaro being piloted by Heitman.
Yeah, and as we take a look here at the lap times, Paul Hill with a 2:13.49 and Heitman with a 2:13.97. So nearly a half second faster for Paul Hill. He just has to be able to get around Heitman. And at this point, you know, Heitman, here's the tough part about road course racing as we look from above. You know, you're always going to be following a similar, you know, race line to everybody else. Whoa! I say that as the 04 looks to try to knife his way underneath the 76 of Heitman. But, you're looking for an open door that oftentimes is only open for a split second, as we saw right there with Paul Hill. So, now Hill's going to have to back off, cool those tires back down, get a little bit more grip in them, and take another run.
And the other side of that is, too, we just spoke about how much faster Hill is, 4/10, 6/10, but yet the gap on the racetrack still remains about 5 or half a second. Why? It's a road course. It's all about how you get into the corners, get off of the corners. At the end of the day, it's that flexing, it's that breathing going on between these two, and that's why, it's a lot more challenging here. We always say catching them is one thing, passing them is another. As the 04 of Paul Hill locks that tire up again, you can see just how much he is having to push to try to get himself to be able to make a move on Heitman. He's having a hard time just getting that last car length and a half.
We don't often hang out here with the leaders as long as we are, but this is becoming something incredible to watch. I mean, usually we start to see this maybe later in the race, but they're going at it nice and early tonight, which keeps us excited, longer here, because some of these races, I mean, let's be honest with one another, sometimes they can kind of get strung out, and let's just say it, sometimes they can get bored.
Yeah, when they start looking like they're in group testing and everyone's about 20, 30, 40 seconds away from each other on a Sunday drive, you tend to run out of things to talk about. So I agree with you, buddy. It's great to see Heitman and Hill here, really getting down and dirty early. But something tells me they're probably not showing everything they have. Heitman and Paul Hill, two veteran race car drivers, they know not to throw everything on the table inside of 10 laps written in the history books. Paul Hill now going back the other way once again, is Heitman now widening the gap almost back to 0.8 of a second.
Yeah, speaking of people who just kind of lay back and wait for things, we're going to take a peek here at Bennett Allen once again, who is a good road course driver. I mean, we can't count him out, as he's kind of sunk back here in the standings. He was just up running in 8th position. He's now back in 11th. Not sure how he got there, but we also want to take a peek here back on lap number 6. Ethan Eckert coming down, as this didn't go well for him. And once again, it looks like we're going to see a Calamity Corner kind of incident, and I'm betting we're going to see the same with Mark Johnston in just a moment as well. Yep, there he is, locking the old tires up. You get yourself, I'll tell you what it is. Whoa, there goes Johnston. We're going to see this as well. You get yourself kind of comfortable there, and you almost forget, like, hey, I got to make a really, really, really hard turn here in the next couple of seconds, as we're going to see the same thing with Johnston, who completely overshoots and goes into the sideline.
Yeah, the Colonel drank too much chicken cock whiskey before he went out there. He's all fired up. He's got a... I was waiting for the right time.
I almost said Kentucky. Kentucky
See what happens when you bring out the rooster?
Well, you know what? That's why I'm more of a fan of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Do you know why?
I don't, but I'm about to find out.
You are. So, of course, every hen house has to have a rooster, right? Because otherwise you don't have more chickens, correct?
That's what they say.
Okay. What a Chanticleer is, it is the rooster who's kind of like the queen bee or the king rooster of the hen house. So he's there, keeping all the other roosters in line. But really what he is another word for a rooster, as we found out from the late, great George Carlin, is cock. And that means that he is the biggest cock in the hen house.
Oh, I'm surprised I didn't hear that from Tony. That sounds like something
we had that discussion one night. I'll never forget it. We were actually calling Western States Racing League when I was brand new to the network, and we were at Knoxville, and it was one of those. No, we were at Kentucky. I lied. We were at Kentucky in the truck race, and we were talking about fried chicken, and it happened to be during March Madness, where we are now. And Coastal had just managed to get into the tournament, and we had some fun with the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
It sounds like you had a great time. Wish I could have been there for that conversation, but hey, that's the beauty of Sunday nights. Well, back with my old bandmate, my OG partner in crime, Dave Regal, and it has been nothing but good times and great racing since then. Onboarding once more, Nolan Hodson running just outside the top 10, slotting in that 13th place position, and him and Anthony on that 90 machine, they are duking it out right now. You can see how they are basically going into defensive mode, offensive mode, on and off as the 90 is throwing every block in the book. Oh, he comes up and barely nerfs him because send it hard into the corner. Do not lock it up.
It almost looked, there goes Savignano, as we rotate the camera all the way around. Savignano just got kind of punted. Sort of like a little, an inside foot pass in soccer. As we're going to see Nolan Hodgson side by side here. Now, this has already been a problem for many of our drivers this evening. Let's see if we can get through this nice and easy as we go sideways through here. Wow. You know what? I want to see that one more time because that was impressive. Let's take a look here from above in our blimp cam as they come down here. Check this out, Matt. They just came in here side by side. Now, Savignano locks up the left front, but he somehow makes the turn and pirouettes his way through that clothespin.
That's two very good road racers right there, being able to send it in there like that. Both basically lock up the tires and make it through to live through the exit of that corner. As you see now, the 12 there, Nolan Hodson, that has pug face on the front of that Dark Horse Mustang. Last year, that would actually help improve the lap times of these cars on the early going, as that affects the way the downforce is made through the rear diffuser. Look for Hodson perhaps pick up some lap time here, as Tony figured it out last year that actually was a little bit of an advantage as he runs in that, or I should say continues to run in that 12th place position, 3 positions down from where he started.
Taking a look here at Patrick Gitter, of course, who brought home the checkered flag earlier this season at Daytona International Speedway. He's road course racing now just outside the top 5. But when I say just outside, usually if you're in 6th, you're not too far away from 5th. Right now, he trails Matt DiCiani by 6.3 seconds as we take a peek back here at Brian Tarnowski, who is registered as having had a bad moment here as he's side by side with Ron Fitting. Once again, looks like he's lining up to go into the clothespin. He sets himself up nice and wide, but way too wide as he's nearly got to come to a dead stop to get through there. And what was that just behind him? Almost looked like Ethan Eckert. There he is.
It
Ethan
was.
Eckert. I'm going to run this back right here because I'll tell you what, Ethan Eckert is a talented driver, and we see this all the time here on SRM, where even the most talented drivers can get tripped up here on a road course.
Yeah, unfortunately, he just wasn't in the zone on that corner, but rare mistake there by the driver of the 11. These guys look like they have a lot of rear brake dialed in these race cars, and you kind of saw it there with the way that the back of the race car started to rotate first. Paul Hill continues to hunt and try to find the mojo to get up there and contend with Heitman, as that lead still sits right there at that 0.7 of a second advantage for Heitman in that 76 machine. That Camaro is FAST fast through 11 laps here at the Circuit of the Americas. Here we go back to the 21. There is Gitter in the 44, a Sean Rockin' Rogers going at it World War II trench warfare style. Go to the chopper cam being brought to you by Jimmy Eggenfeldner this evening. Get a good look at the separation as these two go through this winding portion of the racetrack into this heavy braking zone, beautifully executed by both drivers. We'll have to ask him.
Folks, just try to peel back the curtain a little bit. Nobody heard what I said off air except for Mettler.
You got me again. You got me again.
It's one of those, like, the little Johnny jokes. Here I am, little Johnny, in the back of the classroom, just whispering sweet nothings into Mettler's ear. And, this is one of the things that I love most about working with Matt, because I can say things like that, and sometimes you hope that he doesn't react, but then there's those other times where I feel like I just set him up and bowl him over.
Yeah, that was a setup there and well executed and played on your part there, buddy. But that's why I love being up here in the booth with you. It's always entertaining, always an unknown, but would not trade anything else for it here on Sunday night as Sean Rogers and Gitter are tearing it up here out there on the racetrack. How hot what?
I can't believe how hot this one is right now, Sean Rogers and Patrick Gitter. 0.7 of a second looks so much closer, and all of a sudden Matt Long has now made this a three-way battle for the lead as Derek Heitman trying to hold off Paul Hill and Matt Long by a grand total of just a second and a half. So I'm already starting to, a second and a half. I'm almost starting to worry if Heitman's tires have been cooked. Look at those brake rotors glow. And to your point, yeah, I'm pretty sure they've got a ton of pressure there on the rear brakes.
That was almost like Martinsville cherry red after about 300 laps, and we're not even 15 through. Granted, there's a big upgrade with this next-gen car, and that's in the brake department. We have twin disc ceramic rotors in these race cars. We have bigger rotor circumference and diameter, but still, I worry seeing that much color and heat coming off of those, those rotors this early on, that might not transition to some braking issues later. Look at Matt Long now, just really applying the pressure to Paul Hill. Oh, he locked up the corner.
Look at this! Long in the 97 just nearly had a Code Brown moment as he could have wrecked his entire race in the blink of an eye. As we get ready to go back down to the clothespin, and as we come down the straightaway, once again, you can hear many of these drivers really get wound up, and it looks like these three just simply have it figured out.
Yeah, you can see when they come off corner, that back end of that race car starts to do the jig. That's letting you know it's right on the verge of grip and slip. A little bit more on that loud pedal, they probably loop it right around. Truly masters of just how to massage and finesse that throttle pedal.
Well, and for those of us that grew up in rural America, I grew up 70 miles outside of Philadelphia. Now I live 70 seconds from it. But, where I grew up, this was the kind of driving where you were trying to get from point A to point B, and you were letting it coast through a lot of turns. Some of these guys behind the wheel forget that, sometimes the easiest way to get through a turn is to coast. Or at least, try to blow it up a little bit earlier. Nobody wants to explain to mom and dad why you wrecked the family pickup truck. And, we're going to see that again on Tuesday night in pickup trucks. But, this is literally a country road, or at least that's the way that it's laid out.
Country roads, they don't lead you home in this case. They take you to victory lane.
They do. And, here we are in the live music capital of the world. Always glad when I'm flipping through the channels and I see PBS with Austin City Limits on. And always make sure that you support your local PBS stations, as Austin City Limits not available without contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.
Well, I can tell. I can hear it in your voice, Dave. We'll drop one of those later on. Why not? Derek Heitman continues to hold off Paul Hill, Matt Long. That 97, no pun intended, is good on the long run here once again tonight, just as he was last week. 76. Go ahead.
Taking a look here. Just real quick here, peeking in at our youtube.com live chat. Want to welcome in Ken Ron cheering on Team DGR. Not me, DGR, but looks like he's saying good luck to Alex Brinson, Dalton Mobley, Tanner Marty, and Dylan, of course. And Spread Thin Hobbies cheering on Skip Gandy. And Skippy is definitely gaining spots. We're going to take a peek in on him, as this track has tight turns and plenty of spots to get in trouble. Going to be fun tonight. Amanda Price, as always, cheering on her man, Sean Rogers in the 44. Then Ken Ron says, Dave's a Willie kind of guy. Yeah, that's what it is. You got me, Ken. That's my Dillsburg, Pennsylvania statesman.
I swear the 76 just drifted that corner.
You know what? I'm going to take a quick peek back at that, because I believe after seeing that, you may be right and I may be crazy. As we take right here from above, here it is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He makes it look so easy.
I'd be
if there
glad.
was
Matt Long and Neil Pearson coming in on pit road already. So they're going to come in ahead of the stage break.
Now, this is interesting, Dave. I didn't think we would see this, well, at least this far ahead of the stage break, but here we are. 2 cars making their initial pit stops of the evening here on pit road. 4 tires, 2 cans of Sunoco Racing Fuel. I didn't either.
I didn't see tires go on there.
I'm very confused.
I think they may be too.
The 58 is still in the box, has not moved.
He may
No
be
jack.
saving a penalty maybe for entering a closed pit because we are right at that point where they would have been going into the closed pit. In fact, let's see if I can find a pit lane camera or somebody near pit lane. Of course not. Why not? I feel like pit lane may have been closed.
That's a strong possibility. I'll see if I can get some confirmation on that, but we'll also be able to.
All right, Gangler, you're going to be my guy.
Hopefully he doesn't gangle this up here.
Yeah, you've got one job tonight, Alex. Let me see that red light.
No, all joking aside, he's a great guy. He's helped me a lot when I've had questions about setups and other different nuances here during my time in the series. Great teammate
Here
as
comes
well.
our pit road entrance.
Survey says
No light.
no light.
Well, if there's no light, you can't be convicted of a crime you didn't know that you broke.
Right, so that's really puzzling now. It looked like they were both confused when they came in there, and it just didn't look right. And then, who knows? I'm sure they know what they're doing, as they oftentimes, do.
Well,
Now working lap 15. Heitman continues to carry the torch.
Brian Tarnowski registering as having crashed. Let's take a peek back here as we're on lap number 15. Looks like Tarnowski's going to fall victim to the clothes pin as well. The safety pin, sorry.
There's really nothing safety about it.
Well, maybe, yeah, well.
Well, I guess the safety part is there's some asphalt there, some runoff. You don't hit the sand instantaneously if you miss.
That's true. That's, you know what, as somebody who I hated racing road courses back in the day, so this was always my favorite road course to race. Sonoma made me want to, poke my eyeballs out, and Watkins Glen was fun, but toward the end of a race, I basically wanted to put my face into a wood chipper.
The super speedway of road courses, not a fan of. I love that place. That's my home racetrack from back when I grew up in Western New York. Tony's as well. But I'm a big fan, believe it or not, Dave, of that Chicago street course. I love turning laps there.
When you get a chance, you have to ask Daniel Paulus what he thinks of the Chicago street course and working it with me.
I'm terrified.
He had an incident. And like a dog going after a fresh piece of meat, I could not hold myself back, and he got chewed up.
There's someone else I know that had a similar incident. It rhymes with El Paso. Did it happen in Big Mac Alley by chance? What? Side draft? Yep.
Basically, he wasn't happy.
Anytime you side anything there side by side, usually it's certain death for one or the other, is that place is so narrow. In the 90 there, just joust the 23 out of the way. That was what a move there for position.
That's quite a line there, jousting out of the way.
Sean Kelly, of course.
Oh, well, how Irish of him. As Callie H in the YouTube.com live chat cheering on Nolan Hodgson in the number 12. Had a chance to talk with a former champion of the TNN Truck Series here. And there's the caution coming out. Stage 1 officially in the books. Derek Heitman brings home the green and white checkered flag. He's followed by Paul Hill, Matt DiCiani, Patrick Gitter, Sean Rogers, Matt Long, Bobby Anderson, Seba Cornez, Bennett Allen, and Nolan Hodgson. Speak of the devil. So 10 points to 10 bonus points to Derek Heitman, 10 points to Gryffindor. As Nolan Hodgson just 1 bonus point, but hey, 1 bonus point is better than none.
That's right. And those all important bonus points we've seen time and time again in this current modern, going back, playoff format. Those have a big impact when it comes down to, playoff time when we race when these drivers go for a championship later on in the season. But what a drive there early by the 76 of Derek Heitman. Man knows how to get it down on the road courses, and he's bad fast on the ovals too, Dave.
Speaking of Derek Heitman capturing the green and white checkered flag, we have him now on Race Radio. Hey, Derek, it's Dave and Matt up in the booth. You got us?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Listen, man, you're what's going on. You've been out here just dominating this whole first section. What are you thinking as you start to look at stage number 2? Now, we saw 2 of your competitors in Matt Long and Neil Pearson come down pit road early. They didn't take. Well, I don't want to tip their hand, but they didn't take tires. So, what are you thinking as you look for the pace car?
I'm thinking I'm lucky. I don't think there's any way I should have won stage 1. I think I got real lucky to be in the position that I'm in, and we'll just try to maintain this position the best that I can.
Yeah, you've got the Team Conti GG number 76 Chevrolet Camaro cranked up to crazy right now. I mean, look, it's always an interesting challenge on a road course as the iRacing.com pace car ghosts its way through you. But, a road course in and of itself is exciting, to start with. So, what are you looking for in stage 2 strategy-wise?
I don't know, man. I don't know who's all in this race that's watching the actual race, but I'm going to pull the old C-Bell strategy. And if you watch the race today, you know what that is, and that means I am not pitting right now. I'm going to sacrifice my stage 2 points in order to try to gain more track position back for stage 3. Be one of the first cars on pit road in stage 3, and then hopefully have the speed to get back to where I need to be. But I don't have any anticipation to win in this race. I think I'm lucky to win this stage, honestly, so we'll take them as we can get them.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congratulations and good luck there the rest of the way. Of course, you get 10 bonus points awarded to you, so good luck, and maybe we'll see you on the other side.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Another driver that we want to take a quick peek here with is Bennett Allen, because I'll tell you what, Bennett Allen is one of those guys that I just love to chat with here on the road course. Hey, Bennett, it's Dave. You got me?
Howdy.
Buddy, listen, you're kind of running deep here in 9th position. What are you thinking going into stage 2?
Don't go off track anymore.
That's a start.
Yeah, that's I have like 15X already, just all from going off track. So it's one of those things that iRacing kind of needs to mess with a little bit with NASCARs and road courses. But I've dipped like a 1 right rear tire and like over a white line, and I get a 1X. And so I'm also trying to balance watching March Madness with it too. So that's probably not the greatest of combinations, but just keep the nose clean. I've kind of ruffled some feathers already this race, and I didn't mean to. So yeah.
I mean, look, if they can't take a joke, that's on them. I mean, you've got your priorities lined up. March Madness comes first. iRacing comes second. I get it.
Exactly. I love basketball. Basketball's my first love. So,
see, I'm short and fat, so basketball is not even near me most of the time.
I'm tall and lanky, so that's kind of been what I've been playing my whole life.
No, I get it, buddy. Well, listen, congratulations on your stage 1 position. Good luck in 2, and maybe we'll see a little bit higher here on the timing tower.
Let's hope so. Thanks, Dave.
All right, bro. Well, Metler, we're getting ready for stage 2. If you were sitting in the cockpit, what would you be looking at doing?
Well, I want to say thank you for shoving me in someone else's team Discord, I was talking to myself.
Oh,
But anyways,
I don't know how I did that.
it's okay. It happens. It was quite comical. If it's me, it all depends where I'm at right now. If I'm inside the top 5, I'm going to do whatever that leader does. I'm going to try and mimic and do exactly what he does. That's if I can keep myself within striking distance. If I can't, I may have to go off sequence here, do the opposite of what he does. If I'm further on in the back of this thing, 15th on back, I'm going to turn up the wick. I'm going to be aggressive here early, try to get positions while these cars are bunched up, which attributes to that hard racing we've seen in this stage. That, and mainly just try and send it and drive to the front, because before you know it, this thing's going to be spread out once again. And the only way you're bunching this field back up is with those full course cautions. So you got to be up on the steering wheel and ready to attack on these restarts and get everything you can, especially when you have the quality and the high caliber drivers that we have on display here tonight in the Stacy Strong Cup Series.
Yeah, and as we're going to take a quick peek here on pit road, I mean, just about everybody coming in except for Heitman, DeCiani, Gitter, Rogers, and Long. Of course, Rogers and Long and Pearson both having come in on lap number 13. So now we're going to get to see something a little bit different as everybody's going to cycle through. Now, I see the 04 of Paul Hill. He got 4 tires. Looks like many of these other drivers taking 4 tires. There's Kavaja Holt getting his. So I'm starting to get curious to see, what Matt Long and Neil Pearson have up their sleeve.
Yeah, it's kind of painting that picture, isn't it? And I'm not quite sure yet. I'm speculating a couple different things, but I'm not. Don't want to give all of YouTube another opportunity to poke fun at the broadcast booth. So I'm going to keep that one to myself for now. Again, I want to thank everyone for showing up here live here on SRM. If you're thinking about joining the family, it's simple. Come home to 6 days of high-flying, high-octane, high-racing action right here on your e-broadcasting, esports leader. Like, smash the like button, ring the bell. It's that simple. As we have high-flying, high-octane racing action 6 nights a week here live in prime time.
Yeah, and there's plenty of opportunity if you want to get involved with our team. Of course, you can reach out to us over on Facebook or shoot us an email to simracingmedia.com, the booth at simracingmedia.com. There's always opportunities if you want to be a commentator or a producer. We're always looking for that next diamond in the rough, if you will. As well, some of us are a little rougher than others.
Yeah, stay up in the booth with you for a couple weeks. You'll be rougher than you ever felt.
Yeah, Well, Pennsylvania's state bird is the ruffed grouse. I guess I am just grousing about being rough.
Well,
because everybody should know what their state bird is.
That's right. I have no idea what mine is.
I personally thought that the Pennsylvania state bird was the middle finger on I-76. That's what I thought.
That's not a bird.
Oh, I got flipped the bird. I thought that was the state bird.
Well, if that's the case here, I got Polly for you right here.
Attaboy, Luther.
As you can see that Porsche out in front leading the field here tonight. Not that Mustang that we typically see. Lights are on. That field getting reset, ready to rock and roll here. Front's going to have a little bit of a different look to it, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, the front of this race, the front of this pack is going to be very interesting as we're trying to cycle through here. And obviously the cameras didn't want to cooperate, so we'll just wait one more time. As we work our way around this racetrack, the front's going to be Derek Heitman, Matt DeCiani, Patrick Gitter, and Sean Rogers, your front 4. Then we go to Matt Long and Neil Pearson. They each came in on lap number 13. And Anthony Savignano, he snuck in there when we weren't paying attention. He might have been sleeping on us. He came in on lap number 12.
Yeah, he came through the back door like Santa Claus in the middle of the night on Christmas Eve. I don't know how he does that. They're in that 7th place position, up 1 spot from where he started.
And we can see Long, Pearson, and Savignano right in the middle of all kinds of fresh tires. So I'm curious to see if Long, Pearson, and Savignano, gets swallowed up at all, because that's kind of a dangerous position.
Yeah, this is really going to tell the tale of what we can expect now, as the tire battle and the war rages on tonight. I'm curious to see if these new tires don't have the grip because they're not hot, and that gives an advantage to the older tires, or if it's just, as you mentioned, smothered and covered, right off the green flag here with those fresh Dr. Feelgoods on those race cars.
The iRacing.com pace car brings us around the final turn here. Now we can get all caught back up. Going to start to wonder whether or not, these cars, as we see a couple more in Eckert, Wilco, and Tarnowski dive down pit road right quick. That's an interesting decision.
Yeah, last-minute decision there. 3 cars dart off and peel down pit road as that field now continues to climb the hill. At this distance, can't tell you exactly what they're getting done to the race cars visually, but timing and scoring will definitely let us know. And judging by the amount of time that they're in the box, I'm going to say they're taking tires and fuel, Dave.
Tarnowski was in so quick, it's almost like, as I'm watching real quick here, I can't see who that is, but something tells me it's Gangler. I think that was fuel only. There might have been a fuel only stop somewhere mixed in there.
Yeah, Gangler was definitely quicker than some of the other guys on pit road there. That very well could be the case.
Sometimes nothing surprises me, especially, at a place like this where I'm not as familiar with. Of course, even my camera controls aren't perfectly dialed in as they usually are. I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect, but I'm as close as you're going to get. And even the camera controls are a little goofy in a place like this. So, sometimes your strategy is going to be a little goofy as well.
Or sometimes you just got to roll with it and dynamically change on the fly. And some of the greats did that. Chad Knaus, Jimmy Johnson, made a profession, out of that. 7 championships, tying the elites in the sport, along with Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty. I'm not going to even debate that, some of these guys, they want to stick to the plan and execute it no matter what happens. I don't necessarily agree, especially at these road courses. You can't be afraid to call an audible and do something different. Lights out on the pace car, Dave Regal. That means we're going to turn these boys loose one more time and get back to the good side of things here at COTA.
I don't know what Derek Heitman thinks he's doing, but I don't want to tell him what to do, but he really needs to get behind the pace car.
Yeah. I know he does a lot of GT2, GT3 racing, but this is the wrong series to be racing that car.
And you mentioned that there were 7 championships for, of course, Petty, Earnhardt, and the last to do it, Jimmy Johnson. Are you one of those people that believes that Jimmy Johnson wouldn't have been able to get 7 championships in the old format?
No, I don't. I don't believe that for 1 second.
These people, I know that it's kind of like when we talk about basketball. Well, who is the greatest this, or baseball, any other sport, because sports change so much throughout history. They say, oh, well, so-and-so wouldn't have been, a 3-time Super Bowl winning quarterback, such as the Hall of Famer from Henrietta, Oklahoma, if he played in today's league, or so on and so forth, because of that era that they played in, or that they raced in this case.
Right. It's like trying to debate, Michael Jordan, MJ, and LeBron. They played in 2 different NBAs as far as I'm concerned. Even the state of basketball now is so much different than when LeBron came into the league, I believe in 2002. So that's a great point, and I think a lot of people let that slip by the wayside. It's hard to say, sometimes because the environments are vastly different. Waiting for this Porsche that clearly Heitman is all about messing it up with here under caution. And why not? You got to keep yourself spirited out there. I mean, it is a long way around this place, Dave.
Yeah, maybe he's trying to warm the tires up, maybe goose the throttle a little bit as he's got the 21 of Patrick Ginter just behind him now. Everybody having to get real tight once again here as we take a look at that string of cars working their way through the carousel and into that final turn. Here on the left-hand side of your screen, what would be turn number 19, and that's the other thing that always throws me off at a place like this. I'm used to having turn 1, 2, 3, and 4, a digger cam that I build in there, And no matter how hard I work on our camera packs, it always seems to mess with me as the iRacing.com pace car peels itself off and goes on down pit road. We're getting ready to go back green flag racing, Matt.
That's right. Brett's ready to go. He's going to have the button. Green flag back in the air. Heitman's going to send it through the floorboards, and he is out of here as he opened it up 2-3 car lengths. Look at the dive bomb by Gitter. He got the curb and gets airborne. Uh-oh, we got calamity.
Gitter just went skittering off the racetrack. My God. Let's see if we can find where he did that. And here it is. Gitter just went from the top 4 to 26th in the blink of an eye. Here it is. Watch the 21 right here in the middle of your screen. He bounces off the 14, takes the inside, and wow! Ooh!
You think track position isn't important? I mean, he just completely Hail Married that thing. Going on board with Gitter on the nose camera. This is going to give us a hot, up close and personal high fives that race car to the back of the chin. And now watch this. About clears half of the race surface and puts it right into the fence.
I don't think he wanted to do that. I mean, I'm no fortune teller, but I don't think he wanted to do that.
Hey, Gitter's doing what he does, and that's get going, but that was a little too much in that situation, but that goes to show you Rodrigo there in the 60 going up against another. I'm sorry, that's Chevrolet on Ford action. Taking a peek there to the inside. That Camaro's going to take it wide. Now he's going to chop the nose off. Rodrigo's going to fall back just a little bit. Now
he's got himself tucked in between Dylan Banks and Tanner Marty. Dylan Banks now opening up about 0.4 of a second over Gitter. I'm sorry, over Rodriguez. Sorry, I was still stuck on Gitter. As we take a further look back here, Michael Peterson in the 52. Now Peterson, we can see here, working his way back up through the pile as he's down 2 positions from where he had begun. We're going to start to see a lot of these guys have to make some really ballsy type moves to get back to where they may or may not have been as we take a peek up at Derek Heitman. Leading this piece by now 1.4 seconds on old tires. Matt Long, meanwhile, on slightly fresher tires on his recovery drive, trying to follow Neil Pearson, who's getting ready to harass Sean Rogers.
Yeah, if these tires are the quote-unquote hockey puck road course tires from last year, Heitman is played the best hand out of anybody, if you ask me, because the longer his car runs, it's going to continue to get better. And he's going to have an advantage, yes, Dave. It's hard to swallow, even over those fresher tires out there on the racetrack. You mentioned all those guys now that came down pit road, put the Dr. Feelgoods on the race cars. You're right. They're really going to have to get aggressive now, which is going to put them and force them to do some things they may not want to do. But with that strategy is the play. If that's what you come here with, then you accept that as we watch the 44. Sean Rogers continuing to work his way up through the field tonight. The high-speed section of... Go ahead.
Taking a look at Alexander Gangler real quick here in the 8 machine as he was coming down the hill toward turn 2. We're going to see if he overshot. Yes, he did his entry into the S's. Sideways he goes. He's going to have to recharge that Milwaukee M12 set as he blinks off the track. He may have just gone to DQ land.
And we're not talking Dairy Queen. We're talking incident points. And we touched on this top of the broadcast, Dave. No increase in that limit, even though we are on a road course. And off track, everything you do wrong counts towards that limit. It's not just contact on the racetrack.
So far, it looks like Skip Gandy. Oh, nope, there's Gangler. Never mind, Gangler is back out turning laps. I'm not sure what's going on with him, as his connection seems to be going in and out. That's curious. In the words of Alice in Wonderland, curiouser and curiouser with some of these drivers. I'm not sure where all of them are, but if they're getting any of the weather that we had here in southeastern Pennsylvania yesterday, More power to, wow. Heitman
Wow.
just had to dirt track his way through turn 1.
Yeah, and that's definitely going to be a massive Code Brown moment in the 76 machine. As that's probably really the only time I've seen that car upset now, through 22 laps of competition tonight. The drift doesn't count. That was just cool. That's different, but Heitman clearly still hard pushing here, and he's going to start, why not, Davis? He's got the 58 now breathing down his back right now, being piloted once again. Neil Pearson, was a big factor in the race last week, proven that he has the skills to get it done here on the road courses. We watch him now drive it in deep, almost gets to the back of Heitman. Heitman gets a great exit, though. As you watch him come up through the gears, he's going to take it back to about a car length and a half as we go through this high-speed zone of the circuit. Let's see if Pearson sets him up here in the braking zone. Wait for it. Very aggressive Pearson on the binders. But see, there's the difference, Dave. It's hard to be good on entry and on exit. Usually you have to give up one to, take advantage on the other.
I'll tell you what I'm watching right here, and we're going to ride along with Pearson as we come back toward the front stretch. He was all the way up into 5th gear coming into that safety pin area and was able to make sure that he didn't get all the way into the bumper of Derek Heitman, because he was coming in hot, and I'm listening to him shift gears right now in second gear, nearly down to first, considers it, and then as he comes around this turn, we're going to see him down into 1st gear to get a good launch onto the front stretch. And a bobble there, that might cost him.
Broadcaster's curse.
Happens.
It does.
But now watch this. Now he's going here into 4th gear uphill. He's got to go all the way from 4th gear into 1st without spinning the tires. He does so successfully. And then changes elevation completely. So now he's going to go from top of the hill down to the bottom of the hill. We're going to see him probably stay in 3rd gear coming through the S's if he doesn't grab 4th. And there it is, 2nd. This is going to give him that forward bite on the car. And we're riding along here with Neil Pearson out of Perth from our neighbor down under. We've got some neighbors from the north in Monday Night NASCAR. But the transmission work and the gear shifting alone has to be enough to make some of these guys pull their hair out.
Oh, for sure. And go back to the previous generations of these race cars when you only had, a 4-speed H pattern and a solid rear axle. That's just that comes with, this type of racing. You can't be afraid to get in there and get some gearbox action down and dirty with the shifting, because, again, one of the keys to success. And Pearson doing a great job just showcasing, that shifting ability. I understand it's a sequential, but it's not an automatic. He's still, the driver's still affecting the overall performance of that race car. And you betcha the way he's shifting that thing, working the clutch at times, is it's a skill set that is fading away, but great to still see that being showcased and performing so well here near the front of this thing, Dave.
Absolutely. And while we work lap number 23 on our way to lap number 30, we're going to step aside here and take a break. But don't worry, you won't miss a thing, as we're going to go NASCAR side-by-side and have nonstop racing action. I'm Dave Regal, he's Matt Mettler, and this is SRM.
My name is Leon Kyles. I'm a prostate cancer survivor. I have 2 adult children, 134, 125, and a wife. And I'm glad to be here today. When I got the initial news of my prostate cancer, it was devastating because I got a phone call from my doctor late in the evening, and I was wondering why he was calling, so I put it on speakerphone, and me and my wife was sitting there watching the movie, and he just came straight out and said, "You got cancer." The first thing that went through my mind was, man, am I gonna make it? So I had a lot of different thoughts going through my mind. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to survive, what was gonna happen with my wife, my kids. And You know, I felt hurt, a lot of pain. Through 211, actually. They gave me the number to Trisha Hope, and which was a great thing because Trisha Hope has been very helpful throughout my process of going through my cancer, going through my surgery. Now it's in remission. I don't have it anymore, no diagnosis. And she really helped me with some bills and stuff like that with a grant that I appreciate very much. She helped me out, also gave me some referrals to some agencies that could help me out in my city in Anderson. We had at least, probably over the last few months, at least about 6 or 7 conversations where, she would always have an encouraging word to say, always, telling me to be thankful, and just live your life to the fullest, and them the things I've been doing. Anybody that may be experiencing cancer in any shape, form, or fashion, trust God. You have to be patient. You have to make go to your doctor's appointments, and then just, live your life to the full extent. Enjoy yourself, and just keep moving forward because God is there for you. This program is to help cancer patients, and the donations would be gratefully appreciated because they go through a lot of things and they have a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of bills, things that they can't take care of anymore because of the job situation, leave of absences. Some people never go back to work. Some people are going through chemo and they need a helping hand. So if you could donate anything to help the Trisha Hope Foundation, it would be greatly appreciated.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler, or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Welcome back to Austin, Texas, here at Circuit of the Americas. Dave Regal along with Matt Mettler in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. You're watching lap number 27 of 68, working our way toward lap number 30 for the conclusion of stage number 2 here. I want to take a run back here on lap 24 while we were at commercial break, because Kavaja Holt just completely annihilated the 88 coming through here, and it was not pretty, as we're going to see. Watch Kavaja just nudge him out of the way, hit him a second time just for good measure, and drive right along. We're going to see this one more time from the hood of Kavaja's car, because we want to make sure we don't miss a single angle of this particular one, as Kavaja was just lined up, coming in hot and heavy. And boom.
Bam!
And again, since we're in the neighborhood.
He came in there like a wrecking ball.
Literally. And I didn't even know he was a fan of that girl who sings the song whose name I just forgot because I don't care enough about her. And one more time, we're going to look here. Here it is. From the blimp cam over top of Kavaja. Oh, maybe not. Oh, this is going to be bad. There it is. As Kavaja's going to blow past the 66 and just
snooker. Wow. Clears out the 88, makes a hole. Oh, then he donks the 24.
Yeah, that's a rough one. However, Neil Pearson, now our race leader, he came in on lap number 13 along with Matt Long. Now, we heard about it a little while ago. Derek Heitman now came in for his pit service on lap number 25. Bennett Allen coming in now here on 28. So, you know, we listened to Heitman tell us that he was going to try to come in late in stage 2. That'll set him up for good position going into 3. So this may be a 3-stop race for some of these drivers, as they're probably going to have to stop for fresh rubber in stage 3.
Well, if they keep driving like this, they're certainly going to use up those Goodyear Eagles, no question about it. Remember, Heitman, for a long time there, you know, had some of the longest run on those Dr. Feelgoods in that 76 machine, as he continues now to work his way through traffic to get back up to the front where he spent a majority of the early going of this race, Dave.
Without a doubt, and Alex Princeton now starting to get those wheels underneath the number 19 Chevrolet Camaro as he hauls it down the hill out of turn 1 into 2. And as he comes through here, we're going to start to see him. You know, maybe he was just kind of messing around during stage 1, but this car really seems to have come together here in stage 2. Of course, fast time still being set ahead of him by Paul Hill, Neil Pearson, Matt Long, you know, in the 211, 212 range. But, you know, he's starting to improve slowly but surely as we move into stage 2. So Princeton says, "I'm not dead yet," as he fights his way toward turn 10.
Yeah, Princeton's more like I am. You know, in these higher stake leagues, you know, I'm going to call it that. You know, when I would make starts in this league, I would just be horrible. I'd be off, and it's, just the anxiety, the stress. I would make dumb mistakes early on in the race, and I think, sometimes, Princeton, the best of his driving we see, 20, 25, 30 laps, into the race, and that's right on line with what we're seeing here tonight, is now he's starting to climb that ladder up 4 spots from where he started, just inside the top 15. Lap times on that car, very competitive. Last time by, he was at a 2:16.51. So look for Princeton to continue. Long back on pit road in that 58 machine, the 97 there as well, just behind the 58. So you got 4-round Chevy action there in the pits. Not seeing any jack work there, Dave. So perhaps fuel and adjustment on that race car. As he fires now.
The jack was definitely off that time as they peel out of pit road. Pearson coming up the hill, making his return to the racing surface, lap number 29. That's going to cycle Paul Hill into the race lead as he's about 8.3 seconds ahead of Nolan Hodgson running in P2. So things starting to calm down. Maybe this is why, this league has decided to have a full course caution at the end of each stage, because that does bunch things up and keep things a little bit more exciting, at least racing-wise, as we're working lap number 29, 2 to go here in stage 2.
Oh, that's certainly going to help keep everything exciting for all the important viewers at home. We couldn't do this without you guys. However, on the other side of the coin, the drivers, especially the road course purists, they probably cringe every time they see that caution flag fly, especially if they're starting to check out from the competition. Paul Hill, if you forgot, he had the hot hand in qualifying. He was your pole sitter to start the race, and he is back even with the board. Is that dark horse now carrying the torch once again from the Circuit of the Americas? He enjoys almost a 9-second advantage over that second place car of Nolan Hodgson.
Taking a look real quick at Mark Johnston here on his last lap now. He's down several laps as he's about 8 back, but we're going to watch Johnston come up the hill here, and it looks like he's going to miss. Wow. Well, not bad, but just enough. And I'll tell you what, from standing down on pit road in Miami last year, you don't realize how slippery that paint really is.
That paint is slick out there on that racetrack. I've been fortunate enough to go out there and run it a few times in real life. And, watching this, in sim racing and in person, you think you've seen it all, especially if you've been following the sport for as long as I have. You want to get a whole new level, go to one of these open track days, at some of these bigger tracks when they have it, and get the real experience, or the closest thing you're going to get to it, unless you own one of these next-gen race cars. But, to your point there, Dave.
And also, just kind of playing off of where you were a moment ago, Paul Hill leads this piece in his dark horse, but there are 3 blue ovals atop the field right now. So obviously Ford Motor Company knew something when they redesigned their bodies here on the cars. So, something's going on here with the blue ovals, as there's only 4 Toyotas in the field tonight. One of them belongs to Seba Cornez, who's already put it on the hauler. So I'm curious to see what's going. And actually, Katie Norfree, same way. Chris Claude and Alexander Gangler, the only other Toyotas in the field tonight. Everybody else, Chevrolet and Ford.
Yeah, it's funny. You go back a year ago this time of the year, and this field was very Toyota heavy or TRD dominant. Not the case today. As you mentioned, these dark horses with the reconfigured front nose design front clip on this race car. Before, I would say the strong suit of the Mustang, was super speedway racing. You definitely were able to push much better, than the Camry. And the Camaro, that nose that came to a point was probably, took that third place position there. But Ford clearly put some type of effort into improving its road course and intermediate package, because this car continues to impress here. Ooh, just as I say that, I think Kavaja Holt there in that 00 you were just talking about a few moments ago had a moment there right in front of the leader.
As Paul Hill comes down the front stretch, he's going to look to go around Chris Claude, but chooses not to. So Paul Hill going to capture the green and white checkered flag here at the end of stage number 2. Right now we're kind of waiting for Dylan Banks to finish up because, of course, as you know, in this league, we wait until that 10th place car crosses the start-finish line, which kind of leaves things open, especially if you're Tanner Marty, 4.9 seconds back from Dylan Banks. You're kind of hoping that Banks, makes a mistake here as he gets ready to work his way through the carousel.
Oh, and he almost does, as Dave Regal says that. The back of that race car almost stepped out to lunch. That's not the case, though, as he continues to wind through this course.
Dylan Banks comes out, and that will conclude stage number 2 here on lap number 31. Paul Hill going to be your stage 2 winner. Nolan Hodgson, Bobby Anderson, Neil Pearson, Matt Long, Derek Heitman, Matt DiCiani, Anthony Savignano, Sean Rogers, and Dylan Banks make up your top 10. So 10 bonus points go to Paul Hill. We'll see if we can find him here in our Discord live chat. And here he is. Of course, now he's trying to say that he's not available, but we're going to take him anyway. Hey, Paul, not sure if you can hear us, but it's Dave and Matt up in the broadcast booth. Hey, Paul, it's Dave and Matt up in the booth. You got us?
I don't think he has his ears on either. He could be working with his team as well on strategy, so we'll go ahead and let him do what he needs to do. But nonetheless, he is your stage number 2 winner. Pole sitter began to start this race, clearly has that dark horse dialed in here. Let's see what he has here, the third and final stage, if he can bring it home, or if it will be one of these other competitors here tonight.
In the absence of our race win of our stage 2 winner, we have Nolan Hodgson here, driver of the number 12. Hey, Nolan, it's Dave and Matt up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir, I do.
Hey, man, listen, great stage 2 run there. You were still trailing Paul Hill, but, of course, we couldn't get a hold of Paul. What are you thinking as we get ready to go into 3?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's the first couple laps are, drive to survive, essentially. It's very hectic going into turn 1. Main thing, getting through the first 2 laps, keeping it consistent, and, try to get as much as we can.
Yeah, you've got your cheerleader here in the stands tonight, Amanda Price in the youtube.com live chat, hollering for you. What are you thinking as we get here into 3 and, where you're going to be looking? Obviously, 4 tires and fuel now. I saw a few drivers not taking tires. Is that a common strategy here?
Yeah, typically, you don't want to change tires until about midway through the race, or just change it once, because the way that the tires work in iRacing on road courses in the next gen car, they don't really wear. They just heat up really fast if you overdrive them. So it's best to not change tires so you can keep that grip in your tires.
Well, Matt, that makes a lot more sense after we were sitting here scratching our heads.
Yeah, it certainly does. And we appreciate the insight and feedback there. Hodgson, what do you got left for him in this race? You got what it takes to get up there and steal this thing at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely try. I feel like I'm finally in a position where I'm able to stick with the leaders. Give them all that I got. I think I've past couple stages here. I've had to pass a bunch of people in order to get to them. So now I'm right there on their bumpers. So hopefully I can do something here pretty good.
Hey, looking forward to watch you let that 12 rip. You got a great starting spot here. You're going to fire off P2 for that third and final stage. You heard him say he had to pass some cars. Absolutely, up 7 spots from where he started. We're going to let you get back to work, and hopefully we talk to you at the end of this thing. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you, bud.
Well, Matt, now we have that question answered about why some of these drivers weren't taking tires.
Scratching our head. The only thing we could do is, take a stab in the dark based off of experience. But there we go. Now we have some definitive data. And Dave, I got to say, thinking about it, that makes sense. It almost seemed like he had a hung throttle situation.
I mean, here's the thing. You get that far ahead of the pace car, you run the very real chance of getting an accidental black flag.
Well, that's the other side of it. And talking about black flags, there's the 52 there trying to rough up the pace car a little bit. Unfortunately, that thing goes out, but nonetheless, the attempt was made. Field getting set now behind that Porsche. Paul Hill, your pole sitter, stage 2 winner. We're not able to speak with him, so we spoke to the man just behind him. Nolan Hodson sounds very confident. He already knows he can pass race cars, has the best spot. He's been towards the front of this piece all night long in P2. I want to see if he has what it takes to bring the fight to Paul Hill in that 04 here on this restart. But Dave, those lights still on that pace car as we get set, ready to rock and roll here in prime time.
Yeah, it's going to be lap 34 when we go back green flag racing, so we've got a few moments here. Of course, I say moments, but at a road course, it's minutes, that's for sure.
Minutes.
As, I'm looking through some of the events that...
Whoa!
Okay.
I did not anticipate that.
All right. Well, that'll change things. I wasn't ready for that.
I don't think he was.
Hodgson and Anderson came down as well.
And I'm hearing a black flag for entering a closed pit, Dave Regal.
Well, that's going to make things even more interesting because, of course, you can't serve that penalty until we go back green flag racing.
Right. Now, I'm not confirming this from race control. I'm listening to the radio chatter, but it appears that maybe an additional penalty here for that last-ditch, last-minute pit road effort. As you see now, Paul Hill exiting that pit road, and I think he is going to get a penalty, Dave.
You know, some major events going on here at Circuit of the Americas. Of course, we only get to visit it once a year in the NASCAR circuit. We get to take... who's that? Pirouetting in front of the camera. We only get to come to Texas twice a year now. And, of course, only one of those races is an oval, and that's over at Texas Motor Speedway. We'll be there in April. But, here in March, basically, when NASCAR shows up to Circuit of the Americas, we're the opening event here at the racetrack for the year. As that's every March. Then in April, they have Grand Prix motorcycle racing. There's GT World Challenge America in the GT America Series, the FIA World Endurance Championship in the Lone Star Le Mans. Then, of course, in October, they have Formula One, Trans Am, and World Racing League action in December. So a lot of major racing going on here at COTA. It's not just, fender racing, that's for sure. In fact, it's primarily open wheel.
And that's the beauty of having a track like COTA, at your disposal or in your home state. You're not going to see just one type of race car. If you're an automotive enthusiast, you like everything, no better place to be is you'll get to run the gauntlet virtually with multiple shows throughout the year. And like you said, open it up NASCAR style, here in the month of March. And we'll see you guys, Texas Motor Speedway in April, going back to the 1.5-mile oval. Feels a lot different than this race course.
Yeah, I was kind of sad when they took the second Texas Motor Speedway race out. And, I really would have liked to see Texas being one of the playoff tracks. But instead, they shuffled things around in the latter half of the season. And we wind up, just in Texas here in the spring, which, springtime in Texas, not a bad place to be.
No, especially if you're a storm chaser.
For lunatics like you out there.
Hey, we don't have a death wish. It's not lunacy. There's a purpose. There's a reason for it.
No, I don't doubt. I don't doubt that whatsoever. What's interesting is that, here in Texas, they get a tornado and it's kind of like an earthquake in California. They're like, oh look, another twister. Oh boy, oh dear. Where if that happened here in southeastern Pennsylvania, the world would lose its mind.
Oh, yeah, absolute pandemonium, the apocalypse, without question. It's just like right here in Florida, if we have a massive lake effect snow event and we get hit with 12 inches of snow, it would cripple the entire city. Everyone would be locked down for probably 2 to 3 weeks. Back in Buffalo, typical day, get in the car, dust it off, go to work.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Now, look, I was talking about the way that they've shuffled the schedule around. Of course, we used to go to Texas in October a second time, but now what that's actually done is they've shuffled the schedule. They've added in Watkins Glen in September. Then they switched out Texas Motor Speedway and put Homestead in instead at the end of October, and because of course the championship weekend celebrated in Phoenix. So
don't get me started on that.
What's that?
Don't get me started on the championship weekend moving to Phoenix. I'm still bitter about that one.
I'm sure you are. As a Floridian, I don't blame you at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. To be at the round of 8 last October was really exciting, especially getting to see Blaney make that transfer over, to the round of, the end of the round of 8. But at the same time, I mean, I feel like tradition is something that this sport should hinge itself on.
I agree with you as those lights go out on the pace car. However, as Dave mentioned, it's a long way around this place, so we got a little more time here to, carry on the conversation. When you would go to Homestead for championship weekend, not only is there an atmosphere there that is unlike any other race you go to, but I was fortunate enough, in my 20s and mid to late 30s to be a part of some NASCAR teams, and I was there, with the hot pass, watching Jimmy Johnson just a couple feet from him hoist his final trophy over his head. Just memories and experiences that you just aren't able to recreate anymore, and you just hate to see that go halfway across the country, as they say, often replicated, never duplicated, and just not able to get that same experience, not even at Daytona. No,
and I'll tell you what, the thing is, and I've said this 1,000 times, having championship weekend at Homestead was something that was tradition. And, there are some things in this world that maybe need to break away from tradition. Baseball, we experimented with it for years, and now, the purists have even gotten on board with what we've done in Major League Baseball. And, this is not Fiddler on the Roof. Tevye is not singing a song about tradition and maintaining it. And that's what I really think that this sport itself needs to get back to. I mean, we've expanded into several different markets, such as Chicago, but they took Chicagoland oval racing off the schedule and stuck it right in the middle of the Windy City. Not that that's a bad thing, but these are fendered cars. They're not supposed to do that.
Well, the other thing, and I'll touch on this quickly, the reason they shuffled that schedule around so much, and you've seen tracks like the Roval, was because that Gen 6 was lackluster, and the turnout and the engagement wasn't there. Now that we have this new car, this next gen, it seemed to have fixed the problem, but now the short track racing has been suffering, excluding Bristol, because that was a masterpiece. I want to see if that continues on. But that was a big part of the reason why we've seen all these changes, Dave.
Yeah, and I don't want to knock it too much, because of course, without NASCAR we wouldn't have jobs, in the evening. But
absolutely.
At the end of the day, I think that NASCAR needs to look at their roots. I mean, obviously there's the grassroots racing that we see online and things like that streamed, but they need to pander a little bit to the short tracks. They need to pander a little bit to the southeastern United States, not Chicago. I'm not anti-Chicago. I'm not anti-Midwest, but it was a big deal when they had to haul the cars all the way out to California once upon a time. Now it's not. Also once upon a time, drivers had to literally ride in their haulers with their equipment. Now it's a quick jet ride from one side of the country to the other.
Right. I mean, one good thing, getting back to roots, glad to see North Wilkesboro alive and well again and home to the All-Star race again this year. I could not agree with that call more by NASCAR. Is this field is racked, stacked, ready to go back to battle here at the Circuit of the Americas.
we're going to
Heitman.
place a bookmark right there at Wilkesboro as we get ready to go back green, because I'll tell you what, that's something that without, for all of you folks at home that think that what your boyfriends and husbands or do here online, or sons, nephews, whatever, whoever's watching, even though you think that what we're doing here is weird to some degree, because most of these guys, let's be real, you're sitting in gym shorts or boxers in your mother's basement, but as we look and see what iRacing was able to do, and a track that was once upon a time thought to be lost forever was revitalized thanks to a movement by this organization now.
Proof that there is power in the sim racers. Pace car pulls off. We're getting ready to rock and roll here at Kona. Green flag back in the air, and these glorious V8s run or come back to life as the 58 of Pearson pops out of the cannon. He's going to have a clear advantage as he overcooks the corner and takes it to the house.
That's not the restart that Pearson was hoping for as he tries to get himself corrected here in the sand. He goes from leading this piece all the way back to 22nd, while Derek Heitman regains his lead after coming down lead back on 25. He came down pit road. Matt DiCiani just behind him in the 14 as we work our way into the S's. We're floating above here in our blimp camera. As we get through the S's, that was a pretty clean move here as Paul Hill looks to the inside the 14. Near calamity once again as we head toward turn 10.
Absolute greatness on these restarts as it was 3 wide with the leader ejecting off of the racing surface, and now here we are. Derek Heitman continues to lead now. He is back to the point. Matt DiCiani in that 14 runs P2. Tanner Marty in that 6th place position there as they go up the hill, kind of jumping around the top 5, top 6 a little bit here, as it is good all over this racetrack right now. We start to get single file.
This is something that we see a lot of in these next-gen cars. A lot of single file racing. We see it break out more likely, more than often, I should say, on the 1.5 miles. They go single file, and all of a sudden we're just kind of being real patient. But, that's something that I think needs to be done, especially when you've got now this 3rd and final stage with, just under 35 to go. So we're at 33 to go now. And these drivers laying down 2 minute 12 second laps, they've got to get themselves, into a groove once again. And after such a long period of downtime, sometimes it's almost surprising when you go back up to race speed. Taking a look at Tanner Marty here in the 29 Chevrolet Camaro as Matt, I'm not sure where you disappeared to. It looks like right now he's chasing down Nolan Hodgson, leading Dylan Banks as we go up the hill and up that embankment, so to speak. And this is just where we saw Pearson overcook it a few moments ago. We're taking a look now at Alex Brinson in the 19, working his way through turn 1 and now down the hill once again. Peeking into the YouTube.com live chat, Ken Ron reminding us that it was Miley Cyrus. That's who we were thinking of a little while ago. Of course, I just don't pay attention because I'm just not one of those people that I follow as if it's my job, that's for sure. I want to thank everybody for making us a part of your evening here on YouTube.com. Of course, as Derek Heitman, our race leader, now starting to gap Matt DiCiani by 1.1 seconds.
Yeah, Heitman doing what he does, and we're seeing it once again, Dave, and that is check out on the competition. Now north of that 1 second threshold as he continues to showcase the performance in that race car.
Rafael Rodriguez in the 60 right now, kind of shoved right between Gitter and Long. As Long looks to the left side here, I'd say the inside, but it's the left side on a road course. Somebody off into the dirt. That was Derek Heitman.
I can't believe it. Heitman off the racing surface. A rare mistake by the driver of that ZL1 Camaro. He just gets it. Oh, he wheels it around there. Gets a little too much, or tries to carry too much speed through that technical section of the racetrack. Whoa, and
forcing
he's got
Nolan Hodgson to check.
Yeah, he's going to get a thank you card and perhaps a 12-pack of something, because Hodgson could have easily drove right through the 76, but he really jumps on the binders there, prevents even more damage to the 76's chances here tonight.
We were single file until everybody got comfortable with where they were once again coming back from our stage break there. Now, all of a sudden, Matt DeCiani just laid down a 2:11.50. So DeCiani now in the 14, starting to gap the rest of the field by a second and a half. Patrick Gitter here in the 21. He's doing battle right now with the 97. And that's Matt Long just in front of him. Matt Long, of course, trying to play the pit strategy game, following Dylan Banks in the 70. So Patrick Gitter kind of looking from the outside in, waiting for somebody to make a mistake. And as usual, kind of like a lion in the Serengeti, waiting for that Impala to take a break and get something to eat.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's doing everything he can to help that happen, as he is applying all kinds of pressure. As it is hot and heavy out here on the racetrack, smothered and covered. You can pitch a tent over these guys. That's how close they are together as they continue to battle hard. Hard on the binders there, then back transitioning to the loud pedal, is Long able to just barely outpace the 70 there of Dylan Banks in that 8th place position. And of course, the always thrilling Patrick Gitter inside the top 10 in that 9th place position, is be right along with Dylan Banks. You see just how close the 21 is. Throw Rafael Rodriguez into that conversation as well. He's there in the Ford, too. Should those guys in front of him make a mistake, the 60 will be able to capitalize. He is close enough, Dave.
Yes, sir. Dylan Banks in the 70 leads the 21 of Patrick Gitter. We can see him running just ahead as we work our way through the safety pin that we've so affectionately called Calamity Corner this evening. And Gitter's starting to get her done and get a little closer here to the 70 as we're going to look on from the gearbox of the 70. This is looking back at Patrick Gitter. And Gitter, whoa, just ever so close to that rear bumper. They're not giving up anytime soon.
Mere inches away at times. He's right there. You can see just how up close and personal it is. 38 laps in the history books. 68 the scheduled distance here tonight. And Dave, don't forget, we got overtime available if we need it as well. And something tells me we just might have to go there with the way these guys are duking it out here tonight.
Yes, sir. As Matt DeCiani here in the 14, starting to gap by about 3/4 of a second Paul Hill. And looking back through the field, it looks like, and I'm looking for him, Neil Pearson back in the 58 on his recovery drive, running in 12th position. Matt Long in 7th position, so Pearson and Long kind of tied up earlier, as now they're separated for at least a few minutes here as we've got 30 to go. And with those 30 laps to go, we're going to step aside and go NASCAR nonstop here on Sim Racing Media. I'm Dave Regal. He's Matt Metler. We want to thank you for making us a part of your evening, as we'll be right back as we're going to step aside and take a break.
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler, or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on. Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
My name is Leon Kyles. I'm a prostate cancer survivor. I have 2 adult children, 134, 125, and a wife. And I'm glad to be here today. When I got the initial news of my prostate cancer, it was devastating because I got a phone call from my doctor late in the evening, and I was wondering why he was calling, so I put it on speakerphone, and me and my wife was sitting there watching the movie, and he just came straight out and said, "You got cancer." You know, the first thing that went through my mind was, man, am I gonna make it? So I had a lot of different thoughts going through my mind. You know, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to survive. You know, what was going to happen with my wife, my kids. And, you know, I felt hurt, a lot of pain. Through 211, actually, they gave me the number to Trisha Hope, and which was a great thing because Trisha Hope has been very helpful throughout my process of going through my cancer, going through my surgery. Now it's in remission. I don't have it anymore, no diagnosis. And she really helped me with some bills and stuff like that with a grant that I appreciate very much. She helped me out. Also gave me some referrals to some agencies that could help me out in my city in Anderson. We had at least, you know, probably over the last few months, at least about 6 or 7 conversations where, you know, she would always have an encouraging word to say, always, you know, telling me to be thankful, you know, and just live your life to the fullest, and them the things I've been doing. Anybody that may be experiencing cancer in any shape, form, or fashion, trust God. You have to be patient. You have to make go to your doctor's appointments, and then just, you know, live your life to the full extent. Enjoy yourself, and just keep moving forward because God is there for you. This program is to help cancer patients, and you know, the donations would be gratefully appreciated because they go through a lot of things and they have a lot of doctor's appointments, a lot of bills, things that, you know, they can't take care of anymore because of the job situation, leave of absences. Some people never go back to work. Some people are going through chemo and they need a helping hand. So if you could donate anything to help the Trisha Hope Foundation, it would be greatly appreciated.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end? And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh my
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome back to Austin, Texas, and Circuit of the Americas, where right now Matt DiCianni, your race leader, has commanded the field by 3.22 seconds over Paul Hill in the 04. Dave Riegel and Matt Metler with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth just outside the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Right now we're going to run through the field just a little bit here. Matt DiCianni, your race leader out of Chicago, he's followed by Paul Hill out of Jacksonville, who was our pole sitter earlier this evening. Sean Rogers from Kalamazoo, Michigan, about 11.7 seconds behind our race leader. Matt Long running in fourth here out of Atlanta, Georgia. Nolan Hodgson, we heard from him earlier from Lamar's, Iowa. Of course, Amanda Price in the youtube.com live chat cheering him on. Derek Heitman running in sixth position. Neil Pearson in seventh. Tanner Marty running in eighth position right now, while Patrick Gitter is in ninth. And rounding out your top 10, Bobby Anderson out of Mansfield in the number 18 Ford Mustang. Of course, we're used to seeing that number 18 being on the side of a Toyota Camry, driven by Kyle Busch, but tonight it happens to be Bobby Anderson. So Matt DiCianni, our race leader. And I'll tell you what, folks, this has been an exciting race. We've seen several different race leaders. We've seen some things change, especially conditions here on the racetrack as we take a peek at the weather. 96 degrees now, so we're getting to that point where some of the grip here in the racetrack is going to change ever so slightly, as we started at 88 degrees during the warm-up and now 96 on the asphalt.
Yeah, so with almost approaching that 10-degree track temperature change, that's certainly going to throw a monkey wrench, at these drivers, these teams, as we get later into this piece. 45 laps just about written in the history books tonight. As we're on board with Sean Rogers, another strong run there in that 44 machine. Inside the top three, BPM, Beast Mode Performance, once again representing here well in the Stacy Strong Cup Series. And I don't think he's done yet. He may have something, I think, more for particularly that 04 of Paul Hill, as he is side by side now under siege from that 97 of Matt Long, who once again is flexing the muscle here on that long run side of the long run side of things, I should say, just like last week as well. Is now he takes over that third place position, punts Sean Rogers to the outside the top three, looking in back to that fourth place position, Dave.
Well, and one of the things is, especially here with 23 laps to go, you can get lulled into a false sense of security, and I think that's kind of what Sean Rogers just fell victim to here in the 44. I mean, he was out here, hitting his marks, doing what he had to do, and all of a sudden Matt Long is there knocking on the door. It's almost like, an unexpected DoorDash delivery, and it happens to be for the neighbor, and there you are accidentally collecting it.
I never thought about that.
Oh, trust me, it's a thing of beauty.
It is. That needs to happen over here. Now that I think about it, and you thrown that out there.
We've had that happen the other way around, where they say, "Oh, it's delivered," and then we go to the door and it's not. One time, in fact, it was a Little Caesars delivery, and they said, "Oh, your order's been delivered," and they sent the picture, and it wasn't even our town, much less our apartment.
So that happens to my neighbor quite frequently. I was talking about the reversal, where someone else orders the food and I get it, because I'm kind of owed a couple, as that would happen to us here, when DoorDash was newer. But those painful memories of you thinking you gotten something, whatever you're feeling or vibing with that day was going to be at the door. Nope, your neighbor got it, or it was in the next county over somewhere, and
we've had that happen. I think I have to side with you. I feel like we're owed a couple that have been screwed up beyond all repair.
I can say that on the racetrack side of things too. There's been plenty that I thought that I had won, and lo and behold, something went wrong and really was my fault. Didn't want to admit it at the time because I fell asleep at the wheel or got caught in a situation like you had just pointed there with the 44, perhaps. There's that 14 again. Matt DeCiani.
The one thing that sticks with me, especially on a racetrack incident, was 2 years ago, truck race at Talladega. Yours truly was down a couple of laps, and because at that time I was just not very good doing anything on the racetrack. And I was on the inside trying to stay out of everyone's way, and on the exit of turn 2, the pack came up behind me. So I get down to go to the apron and got plowed into on exit of 2. And to this day, I still stand by my decision to stay down there and try to stay out of the way on the low side. I feel like it was on the rest of the pack to get around me, but I still stand by that decision. And speaking of standing by their decisions, Matt DeCiani here on lap number 47, he's going to have to lock it in. He slides into the pit box. Let's see what happens here. The tires are not going to be changed. He's going to get a full tank of Go Fast, and that's Sunoco Sim Race Fuel going into the number 14.
That's right. Nitro going in the box for the last time here for the 14. He is off and away now. Tanner Marty in the 29 ride coming in for his potential last stop of the evening. This one that counts. They call it the money stop. You don't want to screw this one up. Looks to be another fuel-only strategy here.
I'll tell you
he
what,
is off the way.
I really do like Tanner Marty's paint scheme. As a kid who grew up with a box full of baseball and football cards, that
Bingo.
One just kind of makes me smile.
I'm right there with you. I was huge into baseball and football cards in my younger years, grade school. I still have a box, a complete set of the 1992.
Oh, look at you.
Never even opened, which is like a miracle because at that age, of course, you're going to open them.
Oh, God. It's funny. Speaking of baseball cards, I don't know if you were here for my rant about adults and getting memorabilia signed. But when I was down at spring training a couple of weeks ago, I was in Clearwater, and where we exited the stadium, it was also the ramp that the players come out of alongside on the first base side of Clearwater. And I noticed, of course, the kids that are hanging out there waiting for the players to come out and get on their buses to go back to their hotels, their hometowns. And of course, alongside of those kids was also a bunch of adults with binders full of baseball cards and things. Oh, quick, come over here and sign it. And I thought to myself, the art of getting an autograph as a kid is something special because they're making a connection with that player. Sometimes a lifetime connection, like it's why I'm still a fan of Mike Lieberthal from the Philadelphia Phillies in the mid to late 90s. And, it's like these adults are there, like, they just look downright creepy. Because that adult is going to get you to sign that card, then take that thing, send it out to Steve Gratt at PSA, and, try to make money on it. It's not about money, it's about building a relationship with that player, with that sport. And it absolutely disgusted me. I went on a rant. My dad made me shut my mouth. My liver may have been working in overtime. It was a whole thing.
Well, to your point there, that's kind of why I was an Earnhardt Sr. fan as a kid growing up and not a Gordon fan. So I had the opportunity to meet both of those drivers very young, which was the catalyst for, becoming a NASCAR fan or going down that path. A good friend of mine was going to see Jeff Gordon. This was back in 1994 or 1995. And just so happened we caught him in a Tops market in the state of New York. And he knew who he was, and, everyone kind of did. Jeff kind of had a unique look to him at the time, as he was a California kid. Anyway, so kid comes up to Jeff Gordon. He was excited. I'll never forget this. I remember like it was yesterday. You know what Jeff said to him? I don't stop for anybody. to a 6 or 7 year old kid. And this is all whoever I heard about every day it's in the second grade, if I remember correctly. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And I said, well, I'm not going to be a Gordon fan. 2 days later, I went to a Chevrolet dealership. Lo and behold, the man in black, the Intimidator, was the nicest guy. And of course, I was shaking in my boots because I was like, oh my God, that is actually him, like starstruck. But signed a hat for me, gave me a die-cast car, and remember, he was really cool, down to earth, and you could, at least at that time, it seemed like he really appreciated people. It wasn't the I don't stop for anybody kid.
Yeah,
and,
to your point, especially with Dale Earnhardt, now you had an interaction with Senior, I had an interaction with Junior when we were down in Miami. And of course, we weren't supposed to be where we were, but we took a deep breath, Jonathan and I, and we took a deep, there goes Alexander Gangler pointing the wrong direction. He's going to have to get that machine going the right direction. Jeez, cats, a 3-point turn in the middle of a road course race. Lucky guy there. But, Jonathan Leach and I just kind of took a deep breath and thought, the heck with this. If we get told get away, we'll get away. But until then, screw it. So
that is one of the beauties of that track, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the security was so tight. But, as we're working our way down pit road, of course, everybody is funneling toward Dale Earnhardt Jr., who is racing in that particular event for the Xfinity Series. So, of course, we get to within what had to be, we're 20 feet out, and we're starting to funnel closer. I'm like, oh, my God, I'm finally going to get his autograph. I'm going to get to say hello. And, in my head, I'm like, how am I going to address him? Mr. Earnhardt, your Highness, I didn't know.
Right.
Well, of course, just as I'm the second person deep in line to get to him, the PR people are like, all right, everybody, get away. Speaking of Earnhardt, there's the 88.
88.
of Michael Witt. But, the PR person was like, all right, get away, everybody. We got to do pre-race things. And it was still kind of cool to stand there and do the pre-race invocation just feet away, watch him interact with, his family and daughters and so on. But this one guy who's in front of me, he was the next person that would have been in line, so to speak, reaches out with this nasty, grubby Wrangler baseball cap and goes, hey, Dale, this is my daily. This is my daily, Dale. And, you talk about somebody who appreciates the history of our sport, who knows that he's a custodian of the sport, looks at the hat and goes, all right, give it here. And, which I think I'm doing it right. And, reaches over and past the PR guy, grabs another marker, signs this hat. And I'm thinking, shit, I lost my opportunity. But at the same time, I thought I still was able to have that close interaction where I'm thinking, wow, there's somebody who appreciates where he's been, where he comes from, and where he is today.
Yeah, speaking of a close interaction, that 18 of Bobby Anderson almost had one there with the 10 of Chris Claude, as he had to get evasive on the wheel and barely missed the 10.
Similarly, Dylan Banks here, we're going to take a quick look at it, as he was just side by side. Well, let's see if I can pull it up. There we go. Just going to go right to the blimp here. He's got Ron Fitting in front of him. Now watch Dylan Banks get right alongside of Ron Fitting here. He managed to get through the close or the safety pin turn, and all of a sudden it just looked like he was going to set sail. And I think it's right. Well, maybe that was just Ron Fitting. But just a little bit too close for comfort, especially in that section of the racetrack.
Yeah, too close for comfort. That section of the racetrack is, you don't have much margin for error there at all, if any. And, sometimes that's unfortunate. That's just how it goes, especially at an intricate road course track like here at the Circuit of the Americas. We go back up to the front of this thing. He's got Biscuit on the back of it. Excuse me, going to switch it up. We're going to Peterson right now.
Peterson here on the replay comes up the hill in turn number 1 and just slows himself down to an uncomfortable speed getting through. But I guess he's at that stage in his race. Everybody, all 34 of these drivers are racing an individual race at this point, some of them against themselves, as Peterson had to slow down to darn near nothing.
Yeah, in fact, on my telemetry, it's saying Peterson crashed out there on the racetrack. That just goes to show, to your point, how much he had to jump on the binders. iRacing thought or counted it as a crash on the racetrack. As we go back now to the point once again to Paul Hill, who continues to lead here. And you want to talk about, there's leading and then there's being out into another county or, a couple states over. He has a 15.22 second margin over the second place car of Nolan Hodson, Dave.
Yeah, that's basically, in layman's terms, a quarter of a lap. And, he is absolutely in a different time zone right now. Nolan Hodgson, though, running in second position. He's got the 12 cranked up here. And at this point in the race, with nearly now 3 seconds ahead of Neil Pearson, I'm not saying he can afford to calm down, but he can definitely afford to take a breather here and just log some laps. Right now, it's not necessarily go time, and with 15 seconds between Paul Hill and him, he knows that gaining a position isn't going to be a big deal. It's more so defending where he is right now.
Well said, and that's what it's all about. It's defending where he's at right now. As you can see, Hodson, he's in a great position. He's, one of the biggest movers of the race outside of Rafael Rodriguez, who currently owns that top spot in the 11th place position. But, as to your point, Dave, he's done what he's needed to do tonight. He's executed, kept that car out of harm's way. He is solidly inside the top 5. He's in a podium position, and he probably wants nothing more than to see himself at least finish in this second place position. If he can contend with Paul Hill or not in that 04, that seems to be determined as he's, consistently almost a full second faster as he's out there running 12-12-24s to Hodson's 2:13:33s. But nonetheless, a great drive for that number 12, and he wants to finish at least where he runs right now in that second place position.
John Wilco jumping off track by accident here. We're going to ride along with him real quick. We see Wilco just ahead of Hodgson. Maybe he was trying to give Hodgson some room. No, he just wasn't supposed to be there. Race control is kind of like air traffic control. They try to tell you where to be, but if you land that thing wrong, you're done.
Yeah, hey, let's face it. At 737, that's a pretty big piece of, of machinery. That's a big aircraft. Sometimes it doesn't always, go down where they want it to. So I get what you're saying there, Dave.
I've always been fascinated. You can fly 3,000 miles from Philadelphia to Los Angeles, and all it takes is one fart in the wrong direction, and you wreck the entire day.
Well, that's why you don't eat sauerkraut the day before you travel.
That's true. You know what? Sometimes a little bit of beer and sauerkraut's not a bad thing. But I've always noticed that Chickies and Pete's doesn't offer that on their menu.
I am not flying with you anytime soon.
I would be abusive. Listen, when I went down to spring training, I had the pleasure of having a window seat. And it was $9 to select a seat, and I was more than happy to pay for that little bit of luxury. Because on the way home, it was one of those people in the middle row that just had to get up like 14 times. Oh. And the person on the aisle seat was like, okay, let me do this again. And I'm sitting over there thinking, well, you know, I make sure to pee before it's a 3-hour ride. If you can't hold it for 3 hours, you have a problem, and you probably shouldn't have been on the plane in the first place.
Well, I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say to that, but
it's basically airplane etiquette.
Well, here's the thing. If you know you have a very active bladder, or if, you know, being at, you know, 35, 40,000 feet for an extended period of time makes you go every 30 seconds, and you're looking at your ticket and you see that you're wedged in the middle between two grown adults, it's okay to say, hey, you know, can I move my seat, or do you mind if we switch because this is the reason why? 9 times out of 10, they'll probably say, yeah, I've been in that position and I know how comfortable and awkward that is.
Yeah, I mean, I was more than happy to just, you know, tuck my tablet on the little tray table because, granted, I fly Spirit, so when I say tray table, I mean it's more like a tiny shelf from IKEA. But it's like, you know, I'm all set up there in the corner, and I'm a big dude. Like, I already know that it's not going to be comfortable to get up and down 47 times, you know. So empty your bladder. All I'm saying, folks, is if you're going to get on an airplane and you know that you can't make it, either empty your bladder first or, you know, just hold it.
You know, speaking of Spirit Airlines, they have that very, very specific and overhyped safety lecture, right?
Oh, yeah.
Listen, airlines
if that plane goes down, I know exactly what to do.
Which is? Put you on the spot
put my
here.
head between my legs and kiss my butt goodbye.
Well,
no, they've got the water-activated light on the life vest. If
yes.
I pull the red cord and it doesn't inflate the life vest, it's got a secondary little snorkel in the top that you can blow into.
Right.
You know, the slides turn into rafts, you know, in the unlikely event of a water crash.
Of a water landing. Landing. It's not a crash. We don't say that. It's a water landing. Your seat cushion can be used as a flotation device.
Now, listen,
Please
not
make
on
sure
Spirit. That one ain't happening on Spirit.
Not on Spirit, huh?
No.
I love the part when we learn the intricate workings of a belt buckle.
Yes. Yes. You know, the thing is, and I guess maybe for those of us that have flown more often than others, maybe those safety lectures are a good thing. But, like, I always think, I was listening to Marty Smith on the Dale Jr. Download earlier this season, and Marty's talking about the fact that because he wants to be home with his family at night, you know, regardless of what time he gets home, he will be one of those people that, you know, flies out in the morning and flies home in the evening, you know, just to make sure that he's home at some point, which I thought was really cool. But then I thought, oh my God, he has to sit through that lecture like 10 times a week on a Monday through Friday basis.
That becomes rather painful. You hope you get one of the guys that, you know, owns it and tries to make something out of it. You know, some of the funnier ones that you've heard before, or the ones that have the Chris Farley spin on them. They're on YouTube, social media. I always used to look forward to one of those guys or girls that would take it to the next level. And boy, when they hit it, it made the flight that much better. As everyone's brake rotors are glowing, we got tires smoking all over the place into that hairpin turn. Nolan Hodson right there in the thick of it, Dave. He's running in that 6th place position just outside the top 5. And Bobby Anderson almost turned that race car into Reese's Pieces once again. He saved it at the last moment, as that was a Code Brown moment for that dark horse.
For sure, is Bobby Anderson right now running in 5th position, trying to defend that top 5 finish that he's got ahead of him right now. Matt Long just ahead of him. Ron Fitting, however, registering as having crashed. Let's see if he just slowed down or if he actually did. As we see Fitting here in his dark horse number 3 Ford Mustang. Oh, he just slows down to an uncomfortable Yep, just really slow.
Yeah, I don't think he meant to take that line that way. That looked a little odd, but hey, you know what? You're out there running as hard as you can lap after lap. These drivers, even in sim racing form with force feedback, direct drive wheels, load cell pedals, they are sweating, I can assure you that. As we go back now to that 5th place position, Bobby Anderson is And look at this, Dave Regal. Your leader hits pit road with 14 laps to go.
14 to go. We're going to see if I don't think that we're going to see him take tires, but fuel is an absolute necessity here to get to the end, and maybe he takes just enough, because without having full course cautions, looks like this is just going to be a fuel stop. But without full course cautions, at this stage in the race, he doesn't even have to worry about overtime. He could fill it to get exactly 14 laps in the tank.
It looks like that's what he did. Perhaps maybe an additional lap in there just for safe measures, as he's now down and away. But that is going to hand over the lead to the 14 of Matt DeCiani. So we now go on board with that 18 of Bobby Anderson as he comes off of pit road. And Dave, it's like a snail's pace out there, where it comes onto pit road, compared to being out there at lap speed just a few feet off of pit road.
And believe me, Bobby Anderson more than happy to take this quick break here as he gets ready to pull off of pit road. Now we pull away from the pit box and get back underway. And, you know, sometimes that's just enough for you to let go of the wheel, maybe stretch your arms out a little bit, and then, of course, get yourself back up the hill. The interesting thing is where the pit exit here is, it puts you at a weird little disadvantage coming back onto the racing surface as we ride along here at that point with the 18. But it puts you at a weird disadvantage because it has you literally on the inside of turn number 1. Peeking in here on Matt DeCiani, he seems to be doing just fine up atop the pile as he cycled himself up to the lead. Rafael Rodriguez coming off of pit road. So this last round of green flag pit stops is underway. And it looks like even so, Richard Pruitt, the last driver on the lead lap, he last ran a 2:19.56, and he's still a good chunk behind, about 10 seconds ahead of our leader, Matt DeCiani.
Yeah, as you said, 10 seconds ahead of our leader, Matt DeCiani, who inherits the lead from the 04 as he took it down pit road for his final pit stop, or I assume his final scheduled pit stop of this race here from the Circuit of the Americas. Now, that ZL1 Camaro, Matt DeCiani has the torch in his hand. Can he carry it the distance? 13 laps remaining as he climbs the hill into that hard braking zone. Want to be smooth back there on the loud pedal as he is. As now we go on, I should say, back through the field. Looking at the 52 now.
Michael Peterson comes into that safety pin turn, getting out of the way of Tanner Marty, and just babies it. It's almost like he thought that he was on ice skates trying to get through that turn.
Or he actually came to a stop sign, because he came to a complete stop and then took off again. But, you know, you love the respect to the drivers on the lead lap there. It gets way out of the way. And that's just one of the things that you almost come to expect here in such a League of the Elites in the Stacy Strong Cup Series. Hodson there starting to reel in.
And you know what, Shane Davis, I see you here in the YouTube.com live chat, maybe not pleased with our discussion on airplanes. And quite frankly, no, we'll talk about what we want. It's fine.
Hey, I love Shane Davis. He's a good dude.
I'm just letting you know that, you know, when we've got 13 to go and things have calmed down like this, anything is possible. If you want to talk about what's going on along the racetrack, let's just drop in and let you see what it is. Look, one car, here he comes, all alone. And another car. See, this is why we wound up talking about airplanes.
Hey, you know, it happens from... I got you, Dave. But shout out to Shane. I believe that's Shane P. Davis. Shout out to him for stopping by here the broadcast tonight. He's a diehard racing fan. Great driver as well. Dalton Mobley there. Here's a driver here, Dave, who's kind of had a weird night tonight in that Camaro. Now finds himself on the right side of things here as we approach 10 laps to go. 6 spots to the good in that 13th place position. Could potentially get a couple more here as Rafael Rodriguez is within striking distance. Last time by, he ran a 2:17.41, which is comparable or competitive to the drivers that are within 2 positions above or behind where he runs right now.
Without a doubt. Now, one of the things I noticed as he was coming through the S's is the way that these drivers are handling the S's. We see the 88 of Michael Wick coming through now, and just behind him as he rolls through the S's once again, we're going to take a peek. This has to be, in my opinion, the most fun section of the racetrack. You're able to throw the wheel back and forth. You're just kind of, left, right, and I had mentioned it earlier in the race that a lot of this racetrack feels kind of like an old country road, and I remember being a kid and having a section of road that was just like that to this very day, I think I could still hit that without touching the brake going through there.
Well, that's just it right there. Especially if you grow up racing or just driving, on surfaces that are consistently changing elevation, or you have that rolling sensation with it as well. And, that reminds me of, going to auto mechanics, ASC 1 and 2, back before I ended up joining the Marine Corps. We used to do, oh my goodness. I don't think he realizes how close he was to being lit up. As that was near death.
Richard Pruitt almost just brought everything to a screeching halt here on the racetrack.
Oh, literally, I can't believe what I just seen.
You wouldn't believe it unless you were there. But Matt DeCiani still controlling this race here in the 14. He's now 6.49 seconds ahead of Paul Hill. We're going to look at the time delta, and we can see that gap starting to go the other direction. So obviously time's starting to be a factor here as Hill consistently running slower now than DeCiani.
Yet last time by, Paul Hill, 2:12.60 to Matt DeCiani's 2:14.45.
For some reason, Hill is showing that last lap may have been negated. I'm not sure why.
Well, I think I know what happened there. As you were calling out that time, it was updating. There you go.
That makes me feel better.
That's happened to me before, and you feel like you are, let's just say I know how you felt after that graphic. I've been there before, but nonetheless, continues to be the trend as DeCiani still just a little bit slower than Paul Hill. Continues to chip into that lead. The problem, though, he's more than 6 seconds behind that 14.
Yeah,
that's a lot of ground to make up.
The 14, exactly, and that's the thing. The 14 right now is just in firm command. Listen, Hill can be running at one point there on 56. He was 1.807 seconds. Wow. 1.807 seconds faster than DeCiani. The last lap on 57 was 0.7 of a second faster. But with that massive distance between them, I don't think that he's got enough to get up there, without something catastrophic happening to DeCiani, who last came down on 46. So Paul Hill not having to come down again was on 54.
Correct.
So DeCiani still may need to come down for fuel here in the late stage of this race. He's probably trying to see how far he can build the lead before coming in for fuel.
Or perhaps because he has this big of an advantage, perhaps he can save enough so he doesn't have to. I know that's probably a long shot. That's a stretch given how long it is, how far the distance, 3.43 miles to complete one lap around this place. But Dave, we're almost 10 laps to go. Now is the time when we're going to start to see everyone turning up the pace. We should see the fastest laps, especially, from these guys that have been flirting with that, 2:10 bracket. This is when the good is going to get going. This is when we're going to see the highest intensity racing, or should, over the course of this race tonight, is Matt DeCiani, hoping he can hold on for another 10 times around this place and come out of here with the dub in Coda.
Yeah, DeCiani, we saw him slowing down coming up the top of the hill at turn 1. Speaking of hills, Paul Hill coming down into the S's. And, once again, just a masterful performance coming through the S's here as we see him just gracefully work his way around there.
the car looks like it's almost, on a rail around the racetrack. And that's indicative of a driver that really has put the seat time in. It has an understanding about the balance and how to drive this race car here. It looks simple up here in the broadcast booth. I assure you guys at home, it is anything but. You just don't jump out in this race car and mash the throttle and shift gears. That's not how it works. That's how you end up wadded up into the corner on fire on lap 1. He's doing, just as to your point, he's doing a magnificent job. He's hitting his marks. He's getting through these braking zones. He's transitioning back onto the throttle properly, just as he needs to, without getting too aggressive. And he's being able to consistently back up his lap times in that 213, that low 213 range. And nonetheless, he continues to hunt down and claw into the lead of that 14. The biggest factor is time, now approaching that 550 mark, Dave.
Yeah, he's basically gained a full second now on DeCiani, and that's just in the last 4 or 5 laps here. So, it's taking him basically one lap to gain a quarter of a second on DeCiani. By my math, I don't think that's going to be enough to get up there.
Unfortunately, it's not. I mean, he's going to you'd have to do better than, a second a lap.
Well, we're at that stage in the race where, you have to decide, is this where I'm going to make my bet, or am I going to try to move to a different position here? I mean, I think as far as I'm concerned, for Paul Hill, it's time to make his bet.
Well, I think that's, what he has done. He's been very committed. Seems like he hasn't deviated from his game plan from the start of this race. As you remember, he started on the pole, fastest man in the joint and qualifying trim, fell off a little bit in that first stage, came back, dominated stage number 2. Here we are in, the money stage, stage 3, and he's in that second place position. Obviously we know what this man expects. He wants to go out there and expects to come here and win. Second place, great run, but as we just said, Dave, I don't know what else Paul Hill can do here, other than some type of a miracle or act of God to go and dethrone Matt DeCiani. He's just, he's in another county. He's got a quarter of a racetrack between the Paul Hill in that dark horse to Matt, the back of that Camaro being piloted by DeCiani.
Taking a peek back here at Chris Claude running in 21st position, and now back up to Nolan Hodgson as iRacing has decided that we should watch, well, apparently everything on the racetrack, as we also check in on Peterson and back up to Hodgson. This is what you get for putting it on autopilot. As we look in here on Nolan Hodgson, trying to claw his way up, into that third position held right now by Matt Long in the 97. And, Hodgson kind of in the same position that Paul Hill is. Is this where he's, going to make his bed, or is he going to start digging a little bit deeper here? With now 9 laps to go, single digits on the board, this is where you've got to make your decision. And every time I think this is go time, all I can think of is the old story on Seinfeld of the Mandelbaums. It's go time, Mandelbaum, and somebody pulls out their back.
Well, hey here, Shuddy. Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, you said, is it time to, are you going to lay in your bed, or are you going to fight, claw, and scratch? The next thing I ask myself, well, how close is the next car for position? Unfortunately, that's light years away. That's over 13 and a half seconds off the road to Matt Long in the 97. So now I get to have to push my car way beyond its comfort zone to go up there and gain a spot by somehow, if Matt Long self-destructed. Outside of that, I don't see it happening. Well, you put yourself in that situation, Dave, you could very easily make a mistake, and then guess what? That top 4, top 5 turns into a top 15 if you're lucky. So because of that, I'm going to say Hodgson just continues to manage and stays where he's at right now on the racetrack in that 4th place position. I don't see why you should try to force something to happen that's realistically not there on the right now, as at least it sits with just a few laps remaining. What is going on? Yeah, weird sequence of events right there.
I'm not sure what Peterson was trying to accomplish, but it certainly wasn't winning the race.
It almost looked like he was having a connection problem with his wheel and pedals. Just how erratic the car's behavior, the behavior was all of a sudden there.
That's something that we see more often than not on the iRacing.com servers. I mean, of course, you always hope that your equipment's going to be fine, but sometimes at the end of the day, bad things can happen, and we see it happen, unfortunately, at the wrong place and the wrong time when hardware failures occur.
Now, that happened to me, earlier today, or yesterday. I was running second ISNF at the greatest super speedway ever over there in Italy, the Mazza Oval, and lo and behold, 2 laps to go, running in P2, and just a random disconnect, and went to make the turn, and I continued to go straight through the fence and into the forest. So I've been there. We go up back to the point. Matt DeCiani, currently your leader here, and he is getting good in the neighborhood tonight, as he has been FAST fast, especially in the second half of this race. Performance has been superb. 2:12.52 last time by. I mean, that's good enough to easily make the pace to win this race. Paul Hill just a tick faster, not by much now. He was at a 24. To Matt Long, he's in that 2:12 bracket as well, just a tick slower at a .67, all coming in that 2-minute, 12-second bracket. The first 4 drivers in line tonight, they have been basically in a world of their own at times as far as performance go. The one interesting outlier that I did not see is a 76 of Derek Heitman. He was the storyline early on in this race. Started up front, was able to get the lead from Paul Hill early on, and for whatever reason, after we spoke to him up here in the broadcast booth, he just has not been able to get these last few positions that he's needed, as he is virtually, or it feels like he's stuck in that 6th place position, 26 seconds back of the leader.
And that's a long time to be back. I mean, at this stage in the race, as we've been talking about, make your bed, stay in it. Don't wreck where you are now, because at this point it's a points, it's a points situation.
And you know what? Playing the point situation is not. I know you may get flack, or you may take some, either run into a few jokes here and there as a driver. But at the end of the day, it's a smart, safe call, and you can absolutely win championships like that. Matt Crafton just did it in the playoff era. Just a couple short years ago. So nothing wrong with playing a points day. Mark Martin was famous for that as well. Yes, I know he never won a championship, but still, you can be very competitive and have yourself a great career. Just sometimes just managing these races and not trying to get more than your car is capable of.
No, and with 6 to go, 14 cars on the lead lap, that's something that I have to be honest, in this league specifically, is impressive. I mean, historically, we usually have a couple of road course whisperers in the league, and usually they're out here with like 4 cars left on the lead lap, and I'm ready to put my head through the desk. But all of a sudden tonight, it's like everybody has kind of upped their game a little bit. Alex Princeton here in the 19, not performing as well as I expected him to do so. Bennett Allen the same way back in 29th. But, Matt DeCiani has turned himself into the Pied Piper of Austin. And obviously tonight's live music here is going to be courtesy of Matt DeCiani.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. And I love the Pied Piper of Austin. I can't think of a better way to put it. Taking a look now at Alex Princeton. He just picked off the spot there. from Dalton Mobley. He's going to move up to that 12th place now. In that 19 machine just outside the top 10. Been an I don't want to say it's been uneventful, but sometimes that's a good thing. Really haven't spoke much about the 19. He's kept it clean. Really haven't had much incidences involving him on the racetrack. He's just been kind of that, that silent, methodical approach to the race. From Lake Elmo. I did not know there was a Lake Elmo, but I'm getting that information now.
There's also, there is a Lake Elmo, but there's not a Lake Big Bird.
No Big Bird, but we have an Elmo. Well,
and if you're looking for the Grouch, he's sitting here at the microphone,
eating his sloppy jalopy.
Actually, to be completely fair, it's all about the cookies right now. I see Ken Rod in the YouTube.com live chat, tight for 11th, 12th, and 13th. Go Alex and Dalton. So we're going to take a quick peek here because, that's kind of where we are right now. Alex, Dalton, and Papineau, Rafael Rodriguez right now as well. They're all kind of separated, so that's definitely, to Ken's, Curtiba.
I don't know. Well, I see what Ken's doing there. When you're really pushing, trying to find something, to watch you get excited about, that is the closest, group of cars that we have right now. Even though that's a stretch, it's, really not, I would consider tight, under most circumstances. Right now, I'll take it. I'm with Ken on that 100%.
Yeah, and peeking in here at Nolan Hodgson in the 12, and just behind Sean Rogers in the 44. Maybe there's a little bit of a fight brewing in the YouTube.com live chat, or there should be. Amanda Price cheering on Sean Rogers in the 44, and then of course we have Callie H cheering on Nolan in the 12. So we should get some kind of debate going. The Allen Experience checking in with us. Of course, that's Alan Bergen saying Brent Larson of the World of Outlaws late model series is from Lake Elmo, Minnesota as well. So thanks to our advanced stats and information from Alan Bergen.
Apparently knows everything to do.
Just in case you thought my useless information was really far out there.
He specializes in all things related to Elmo. We appreciate him for dropping those next generation stats with us up here in the SRM broadcast booth. Dave, real quick, the 44, Sean Rogers, there's a driver that refuses to go away. You see him each and every week, the determination, the drive, the hunger out of the 44. Even when he doesn't have the fastest car on the racetrack, he makes it look like it is at times. If he's got a 10th place car, he always seems to get it closer to the top 5. If he's got a 5th place car, you just about puts it in a podium spot every time. And here we are again. Sean Rogers is in that 5th place position.
Yeah, to your point, Sean Rogers, I kind of would have to start to equate him to herpes. He comes around. He's always there. He never goes away. But there are times where all of a sudden, when you're not paying attention, he pops up when you least expect him. If you don't take your Valtrex once a day. As Sean Rogers steps out of line, he's currently chasing down Nolan Hodgson for 4th position. This is actually starting to heat up. There's sub 1 second between them with 4 laps to go. And Rogers is starting to be an itch that Nolan Hodgson's going to have to scratch.
It's beast mode, not VD mode performance.
Oh, now see, I didn't get that on my media prep sheet.
Well, anyways, apparently Sean Rogers has got the itch that everyone just can't scratch because he is still right there working off the back of Nolan Hodgson. And you know what? He very well could leapfrog another position here. Is Rogers is quicker than the 12. And look who is also coming into the picture just off the back of the 44. There's Derek Heitman in that 6th place position. He's the fastest car on the racetrack the last few laps. The problem, not enough time. As last time by, Derek Heitman ran a 2:12:36. One of the very few cars left in the 12-second bracket. but he is miles off the pace of Matt DeCiani right now as we go to that 8th place position being occupied by the 29 of Tanner Marty.
Marty, oh, wow. Marty took the safety pin just a little too tight and wound up cleaning the clock of the 24 of Richard Pruitt. I did hear an apology on the radio. He definitely didn't mean to do that, but one more time, I want to take a peek at that from Tanner Marty's nose, because I'm pretty sure that, like a warning shot, it was supposed to be across his nose, not up.
Well, Dave, you always seem to stick your nose in people's foreign affairs. No different than on this replay here.
That's why I don't work for the United Nations. And there it is. We're here to entertain and inform as we take a peek once again at Derek Heitman in the 76, running a little faster than our race leader, but just doesn't have enough, as my esteemed partner Matt Metler has mentioned. And I mean, you know, here we are with 3 laps to go this time through the circuit, and when they come back around, folks are going to be standing up in the bleachers with popsicle sticks in their hands as we're heading toward 2 to go.
Yeah, that Apex Designs sponsored ZL1 Camaro has been an absolute road course terror here at the Circuit of the Americas. You know, making this 3.43 mile, facility look like a, carving it out like it's an ice cream cake that's been sitting out for 12 hours. Just has not seemed to faze him at all in the slightest. As you see him now working off the back there of the 19 of Princeton. You know, he wants
even on a go-kart track, like at Broadway Grand Prix in Myrtle Beach, things like that. You know, you go around a go-kart track, you think, oh, I can get this road course thing done, and then you strap in at some place like Coda, and it is such an incredible animal as we watch Matt DeCiani take the sign for 2 to go here. He's going to light all 4 brakes up coming up the hill. You know, no matter how many times you might do this in practice, it's here in the race that it actually matters.
Practice is, is a good thing. Is good as far as, getting the understanding of the basics, your braking points, the lines you want to run. But when you get into that race mode or this format, when it's money time, nothing you're going to prep for, on a practice level is going to prepare you for the pressure, the intensity of what these moments feel like. And the only way to get that experience is to get it out there on the racetrack by putting yourself in these positions. And Matt DeCiani is quickly making a name for himself here in the Stacy Strong Cup Series. Comes off the corner there. I mean, don't know how you could do it any better. And this with just 2 laps to go. Still has all the power being made in that Camaro. You see how quickly it gets up to speed there through the high-speed sector of the course. Now he's going to get into this heavy braking zone. You don't see that car twitch, bobble, nothing.
No, he's had full control of that machine all night long. He hasn't made any real mistakes. And I mean, as I had mentioned earlier, sometimes, especially coming down that straightaway into the safety pin, so to speak, you can almost get yourself lulled into a false sense of security. And DeCiani has kept himself disciplined all evening long as he works his way here into the carousel. And, I just think that this is something incredible to watch.
It really is. And, that's the thing, though, with the talent as good as it is in this league, it almost kind of takes away from just how impressive this run is by Matt DeCiani. But you're 100% correct. What he's done out here tonight is, everyone is taking note, and all these teams are going to remember this for the next time we come to a road course track. Some of these guys that probably thought, myself included, we're going to be up here in the top 3 that were so strong and dominant last year, are probably going to go back, do some homework, and we'll see what happens the next time. But right now, Matt DeCiani is clearly the wheel man when it comes to turning right and left in the Stacy Strong Cup Series, as he's now primed to get his first win of the season here on the road course, or on the road side of racing, as just... And my mic got out there, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that, as he goes to get around the 60 of Rafael Rodriguez.
You know, and
But
the road courses can act a lot like, you know, the super speedways. We can call them somewhat of a wild card race. You know, with the white flag in the air now, we're racing back to checkers. You have to think to yourself that road courses, because they require a different set of discipline skills, you know, just like the patience of a super speedway, you know, not everybody can pull off a win at a road course. And so for a driver like DeCiani, he may lay an egg the rest of the season. Not that we want him to, but he, you know, the chance is there. So moving forward, you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, now I've got to practice those intermediates, those super speedways, as we, you know, focus on now playoff, you know, running and contention.
Right. The game changer, you know, with this current playoff points format, winning in. And this is completely, you know, he knows now. I mean, it's never over till the checkered flag flies, but for all intents and purposes, he's going to be in a playoff driver when it comes to calling for him. And like you said, time to hit the school books once again. Get all the practice you can, as Matt DeCiani is going to get it done here at the Circuit of the Americas in jaw-dropping fashion in prime time, as he took it to the field tonight, Dave Regal.
Yes, sir. Matt DeCiani crossing the start-finish line, captures the checkered flag here at Circuit of the Americas. He's going to take that victory lap and cool down, and I'm sure by this point he's just sat back and maybe shook his shoulders out to try to loosen those muscles back up. Paul Hill comes across the line second with Matt Long in third. Nolan Hodgson comes across fourth, while Sean Rogers rounds out your top five. Derek Heitman, Patrick Gitter, Tanner Marty, Bobby Anderson, and Neil Pearson make up your top 10 and the cars remaining on the lead lap here at Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you for that, Dave Regal, and want to thank all of you for joining us here live on SRM this evening for some great road course racing action here from the state of Texas, where Matt DeCiani had these boys corralled from the start as he went out and laid, in the words of Stone Cold Steve Austin, laid the smackdown on the racetrack. As you see him now there, the 97 of Matt Long, who finished third, showing some love there, throwing some shade at the 14. Cannot take away from the performance from that 97 of Matt Long. He really had to work hard for that finish. And our pole sitter there, Paul Hill, one heck of a drive out of him as well. Our top three tonight, very deserving of where they finished in this race, as they were clearly the class of the field when it came down to the end.
And class is definitely one way to put it. You know, this definitely brings out a different class of drivers, so to speak, as we get ready to try to pull our race winner in, Matt DeCiani, to the waiting room here, as I'm trying to get everybody lined up.
It's like trying to herd cattle.
A little bit. Everybody into the chute, please, and thank you. Still looking for Matt Long.
Matt Long, of course, your third place finisher, while Dave gets our top three ready for interviews. You will hear from them live here on SRM momentarily.
And Matt, right now, I believe that you do have our race winner, Matt DeCiani, with you.
Matt and Dave up in the SRM broadcast booth. You got me.
Yeah, I got you guys.
Matt, we've seen you since you've been here in this series. You've been a contender on the ovals. You've been a contender at the 1.5s, and now we come to a completely different type of a race course here. We go to the Circuit of the Americas, and here you are once again, my friend, put on one dominating, statement-making performance with a very commanding, dominating win here. How were you able to go out there and put up that type of a pace tonight?
Oh, we had a strategy what I was gonna do, and I almost screwed myself because I pitted a lap early. My last stop there, I had to save a lap of fuel, so I was kind of worried I screwed that up. But luckily, I saved enough, and then I saved too much. But I was just trying to pace the gap, and yeah, I mean, a lot of craziness on restarts. I feel like Neil or Derek even were the best cars probably to beat, and you know, just I didn't make any mistakes, so yeah, and just hit my marks, and yeah, that's what got me this one.
Obviously, you're talking about the 76 of Derek Heitman, who is also a very good road course racer, who obviously led laps here as well this evening. You mentioned those restarts. Just how treacherous was it out there, on those restarts? And was it as crazy and hot and heavy on the racetrack as it appeared to be from up here in the booth?
Yeah, there was one of them where Pat came flying in like a rocket. That was crazy. That Neil drove off one time. Yeah, turn one is just so hectic, and it's weird because we don't really have restart zones labeled here, and the timing and scoring is like the F1 line, not the NASCAR line. So it's but some people were waiting for the green all the way down, and I think that was interesting.
Oh, so now that makes sense, because we were up here in the booth trying to figure out what was going on with some of those restarts.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for sharing that. To your point about some guys driving through other cars, that may have been the time when I used Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball as a reference. That could be. There was a couple different times out there on the racetrack tonight, but nonetheless, man, as you're burning the house down, get the good out of those good years, man. You deserve it. Who do you want to thank? Who helps you get it done the 14th?
Yeah, thanks for you guys for calling the race. Thanks for Chris for putting on the league. Shout out to my teammates, Derek and Pat. Randy wasn't here tonight, but shout out to him. Shout out Team Conti.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, your winner from the Circuit of the Americas. The new kid in town just may be the new HMFIC of the Stacy Strong Cup Series. Who is going to challenge to dethrone Matt DiCiani? You got to find out. Be here next week on SRM. Dave, back to you.
Thank you, Matt. As always, a fantastic interview there. Right now, I'm going to be trying to dial up Paul Hill here. As here he is. Hey, Paul, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I do. What's going on, guys?
Hey, man, listen, first time we're getting a chance to talk real, in depth here on the show tonight. Obviously, second position, not where you wanted to be. You wanted to be in victory lane, but still an excellent performance out of the 04.
Yeah, I'm super happy with that, being that this is only my fourth race here, and still kind of feeling everything out. My strong suit's definitely road courses, so I came in here trying to get as many points, and would have loved to win, but a stage win, I think third in the first stage, second, place finish, I can't really complain.
No, not at all. And, Matt and I were talking during the broadcast about this kind of being a wild card race for guys like you that have, a knack for road course racing. Road courses and super speedways are always wild card races, in my opinion, from here in the booth. What does that feel like for you?
Like I said, it feels good to take advantage of it, being that it's my strong suit, and just try to gather some points. But, looking forward to the next one. Try to hit Richmond, I think, is next week. Looking forward to that. Just take the points now and look forward to the next one. Hopefully get a win by the end of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, this is only the first road course race of the season. Of course, we still have Sonoma, Watkins Glen, 2 Rovals coming up. So there's plenty of opportunity for guys like you to make some hay in this league and punch that ticket to the playoffs. And as we're going to see next week, once we update the points and everything like that, it's going to move you into a deeper contention for the playoffs. Is that what you're focused on right now, or is this just getting through each week one at a time?
No, I'm definitely focused. I would love to make the playoffs. I kind of started late. I missed Daytona and Atlanta, unfortunately. So I definitely have some points to make up. A win really would be the most ideal way to punch that ticket. So hopefully I can pick one up on a road course or maybe even an oval.
All right, man. Well, listen, as always, before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank and tip your helmet to for this run tonight?
I really got to thank the guys down at Grease Monkey Motorsport. I know I'm kind of like a free agent right now. I don't work under a charter, so I do have to qualify in and things of that nature. But those guys have kind of taken me under the wing, kind of showed me the ropes and helped me out, and definitely got me to where I am right now, sitting second in this race.
All right, man. Well, once again, welcome to the SNN Cup Series, brought to you by Stacy Strong, and congratulations on the P2 finish. We'll see you next week.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
And Matt's last, but it seems like you've got nothing but Matt's tonight. As last but certainly not least here on the interview schedule is Matt Long.
Matt Long, Matt Metler, and Dave Regal up in the booth. You got us, my man.
Yes, sir. How y'all doing?
Hey, you tell us, man. I mean, we're doing great after you guys putting on a show tonight. But, Matt, here you are once again, driving your tail off in these races, finding ways to get yourself here at the front of the field. No surprise, you're back up in the booth again. How were you able to get to that third place position?
Yeah, man. We had a really good car, and I don't know. I just love COTA. It's definitely my best road course. But so yeah, was able to run some good lap times. But I thought we had a good strategy. We were doing the whole pit a couple laps before the stage, and then stay out during the caution strategy. And in real life, when you do that, like first and second place can pit, and then the pit road would close based off the third place car. But it's a little bit different in iRacing, and I didn't know that, and that's on me. So I got that black flag there in stage 2, and then I had to come from the back. So I'm just happy with the podium. It's I had some rough finishes at Phoenix and wherever before that, Atlanta, I don't know, but needed the good finish. So we're happy with that, and we'll take that away.
You mentioned, obviously, you trying to use strategy, things that you've learned from being a fan of the sport, which is, in my opinion, was a great call until, unfortunately, it didn't go your way. You got served that black flag. And then, obviously, you had to go on that drive, for your life of the race. What was navigating that traffic life like, and how intense was it out there on those restarts?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I was a little bit worried about it, to be honest, when I got back there. I didn't know.
You weren't the only one.
Yeah, I didn't know if I could. I just was hoping to get up in the top 10, but there was some carnage way up in front going into turn 1 that I was able to miss, and then was able to slice through a bunch of guys on that first lap, and then just start picking them off one at a time. So, it was a lot more fun than I wanted it to be, but. I was glad I was able to get back up there for sure.
And one last question, and then I'll turn it over to you. Tires tonight, was the tire wear really a factor, or was it all based upon how you drove your car? If you abused the car, would the tires still fall off? It just seemed like these tires wouldn't plateau for laps upon laps into these runs.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, you could run basically one set of tires that whole race probably. If you locked them up or slid them a bunch, then you'd pay for it for a few turns. But I threw tires on in that last stint just to see. I had nothing to lose at that point, and I don't know, maybe it helped a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal at all. So I wish the tires would wear more. I think we hear that a lot for anyone that follows NASCAR, but it seemed pretty realistic to what we saw in real life today. They didn't wear it all.
Last year we used to call them hockey pucks, so it sounds like they're back this year with minimal wear over the course of the runs. Matt, obviously you come home with third place. Want to turn this over to you. Who do you want to thank who helps you get it done on Team 97?
Yeah, it's just my sponsor, Ignite Wireless, on the car. My teammates, Bobby and Neil, were out there today. Andrew back home. But I've learned a ton from Neil Pearson, Andrew Dyson, the Australians on the team. Those guys are amazing road course racers, and they've helped me a lot. And thanks to you guys and Chris for putting on the league and the show. I appreciate y'all.
Hey, we appreciate you. Hey, you're a wireless sponsor. How do these guys watch it on TV? Go online and find them. What's the best way to do that?
Oh, IgniteWireless.com. Site acquisition, sell tires if you're in that business.
Hey, there you go.
Check them out.
Tell them Matt Long sent you. Get a percentage off your order. Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Uses all the assets, including some premier road racers on his team, to go from almost dead last on the lead lap up to a podium finish in that third place position when all was said and done. That is the driver of the 97, Matt Long. Dave Regal, back to you.
Thank you, Matt. As always, appreciated to check in with these drivers, especially at the end of these races. Here at round number 6 at Circuit of the Americas, Matt DeCiani brings home the checkered flag, and he's joined on the podium by Paul Hill and Matt Long as we work our way through the rest of the best here on SNN Cup Series action. Nolan Hodgson and Sean Rogers round out your top 5, while Derek Heitman and Patrick Gitter come home 6th and 7th. 8th and 9th belong to Tanner Marty and Bobby Anderson as Neil Pearson finishes the top 10. Rafael Rodriguez brings home an 11th position, while Alex Princeton gains 6 positions but still falls short, finishing in 12th. While Dalton Mobley also goes up 6 positions, finishing in 16th. Eric Papineau finishes 14th. Michael Witt comes home in 15th position, while 16th goes to Richard Pruitt after gaining 22 spots. He's our big mover of the race, so 22 spots to the good for Richard Pruitt. Chris Davis comes home in 17th, with Chris Custer and John Wilco in 18th and 19th, while Chris Claude finishes out your top 20. Ron Fitting comes home in 21st, while Chad Sanner and Dylan Banks come home 22nd and 23rd. Michael Peterson comes home in 24th, with Alexander Gangler in 25th.
That's right. Rounding out your top 25 is going to be the 8 of Alexander Glenner. Sean Kelly, even with the board, comes home in that 26th place position. 27th, up 12 spots. Brian Tarnowski in that 28th position. 29th, that's going to be the 15 of Bennett Allen. Definitely was looking for more here tonight. And rounding out your top 30, Kavaja Holt was strong early, had an incident on the racetrack, and unfortunately was not able to recover. 31st belongs to Randall Watkins. 32nd, Caden Nofry. Coming home 33rd, up 4 spots, Tyler Sexton. And running out your top 35, Godzilla himself, Rich Jett, in that 77 machine. Skip Gandy comes home 36th, while Mark Johnson resides in 37th. 38th belongs to Ethan Eckert. And rounding out rounding out the 39-car field tonight, there we go, is going to be the 89 of Steve Herring. Dave, back to you.
Well, Matt, it's been a night so far, of course, as we get to see all of these drivers come home in basically one piece. It's not necessarily pristine order, but it's not near as bad as we've seen damage-wise. And I'll tell you what, as we get ready to head to Richmond next week, that's when these tempers are going to flare. If there was anything left over from today, they will absolutely be sharing it next week in the state that's for lovers, Virginia. Yeah. And as always, I want to thank everybody for making us a part of their evening. As without you folks at home, we would have no one to talk to besides each other. And don't get me wrong, we can entertain one another, but it's more fun when we know that you're there riding along with us. So for myself, Dave Riegel, and my broadcast partner, Mr. Matt Metler, we want to thank you one more time for tuning in and hanging out with us tonight and tomorrow and every day as you go through your day and walk down the road of life. Please don't plan traffic. Good night, everybody.